What if I were to suggest that you play a key role in the awakening world? And that you are watching this because you have heard the call. We can start right now by opening our hearts and minds. Welcome to the awakening world.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Wednesday night edition of The Awakening World. I'm Love Coach Scott Katamas, and we've got a really, really important show tonight. You know, way back in the mid-90s, I was hired for many, many years as a segment producer on nationally broadcast shows dealing with mystical stuff, a show called The Other Side on NBC. I was in charge of all the UFO stories for the Paranormal Borderline primetime series on UPN, then went over and produced for 2 years on a show called Strange Universe. Now, that was 1995 to 1999, and everybody was asking, when's disclosure going to happen? When's disclosure is going to happen? I interviewed 8 former astronauts, 30 former military officials, all wondering about disclosure. And we were asking and asking and asking for decades. Well, it's finally happening. It's amazing. The United States government, in its own slow, tiny little way, is beginning to release files, but it's a big deal. And tonight, we've got some of the most amazing people here to talk about it. And we also have Captain Ron Jannix, who is the man, the creator of Contact in the Desert. And Contact in the Desert is coming right up. I'm going to be there. I think most of the people you're going to see tonight are going to be there. And we want for all of you to be there. And we're going to learn all about Contact in the Desert in a few minutes. Now, all of this has to happen because of Alan Steinfeld, Mr. Making Contact. And Alan, we've done what, maybe 15 shows together now over the last 6 years?
Well, you found my book, Making Contact, which was a breakthrough, and you've been very good at supporting that, so I appreciate it. And like me and Ron Jannix, we are obsessed with the topic. I mean, we need to know everything about it. I think me and Ron are the only ones who've been at every single Contact in the Desert since it began. I think this is the 14th year, right, Ron? So
yeah, that's right.
Well, we're going to learn all about it. Let me also mention who else we've got on the show tonight.
Yes.
We've got Steve Bassett. And Steve is extraordinary. Whenever this guy speaks, I listen. I really find that his perception is very, very, very right on target. So we're going to hear from Steve. And he's been saying disclosure is going to happen this year. It's going to happen. And you were right, Steve. You were right. Ron James, a longtime friend of mine, and he is a great filmmaker. He's in charge of all the films that come through MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network. So we're going to hear from Ron. He's always got his finger on the pulse. And a new friend who I'm looking forward to getting to learn, Ron's best friend, Dean Alioto. Those two are two peas in a pod. So looking forward to them. And of course, how could we have a Making Contact show without our beloved John Martin, who's put together a special video for us? And so we've got John with us. We also have both Desiree and Diara to lead our prayer time. So it's a full show. And as always, we're going to start with some music with our house musical artist, the beloved man himself, Omar Shar.
So this should be a fun show, and welcome to everybody who's watching on YouTube and Facebook and our streaming partners. And so let's get down. Let's get with it, whatever that means. This is a song called Welcome Home. Welcome home. Let me shine a light inside, and I'll show you where your truth resides. Lift your eyes up to the skies, and I'll prove to you that nothing dies. Together we will rise again, and we'll make amends for what we've done. I know you hear me, so please do not fear me, 'cause I'm here to lift you, restore you to glory, and love you and hold you and be your victory. My child, I will welcome you home. Welcome you home. So let me take your hands in mine. As I look at you, your spirit shines. You see, it's true that we are one, and we came out from the central sun. I know you hear me, so please do not fear me, 'cause I'm here to lift you, restore you to glory, and love you and hold you and be your victory. My child, I will welcome you home. Welcome you home. So when you take a different view and you dream awake, breathe out the new. The world will come alive again as we dance and sing and make new friends. I know you hear me, so please do not fear me, 'cause I'm here to lift you, restore you to glory, and love you and hold you and be your victory. My child, I will welcome let me shine a light inside. I'll show you where your truth resides, and lift your eyes up to the skies. I'll prove to you that nothing dies.
Thank you, beloved Omashar. I'm wondering if you're welcoming our galactic family as they come in with that song.
That's exactly what we're doing, and that's exactly what this little thing behind me is doing. Welcoming everybody back into our reality. They never left in the first place, but hey, thank you.
Thank you, Omashar, and thank you, Desiree, for the bright light that you are. And thank you, Alan Steinfeld, because you're who first introduced us to Desiree. So she's now become like a big part of the show. Thank you very much.
Well, that's our job, John, Scott, to find.
I'm Scott. I'm Scott. Right.
Right. That's our job, to find the people that showing up for us, like our first guest here tonight.
Absolutely. And again, everybody, make your plans if you haven't already. And if you're planning on coming, pop it in the chat box. But we are previewing Contact in the Desert. It is the #1 gathering for anybody interested in this work, in this extraordinary thing. And what an amazing time to have it. I like that, the Coachella of UFOs. And that's really where it is. It's in Southern California. And all of the leading people who are researchers or abductees or experiencers are going to be there. And of course, all the people you're going to see tonight, Alan, myself, and all of our presenters. But most of all, we've got Captain Ron. Captain Ron, welcome back. This is our second year now hosting you and premiering your show. Tell us a little bit about this year's show. What are you excited about?
Yeah, I appreciate it, Scott. Thank you so much. Well, we try to mix it up a little bit each year. We try to change out some speakers. Not that there was anything wrong with the previous speakers. It's just we can't do the same show every year. So we want to mix it up a little bit. So the exciting thing for me this year is that we have Jacques Vallée. I mean, just about as big of a name in our community and a legend as you can get. So it's going to be a real honor to have him there. I'm very curious. He's doing a workshop on Saturday with Dr. Eric Davis. And the way they described it to us, what they were going to talk about was things that couldn't be told. And that sounded very salacious to us. So I'm very curious to what the two of them have to say. I mean, if anybody knows about what's going on, I would argue that those two guys probably have a pretty good sense.
Well, you know who Eric Davis was? Eric Davis briefed Congress on crash retrievals. I mean, he talked to inside members. Eric Davis probably has more inside information, don't you think, Ron, than probably anyone that's not directly in government. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I think he certainly does. And he was bold enough to say on the congressional floor about 4 types of alien beings. And he let it fly right there. He was very open. And I found that incredible. So it'd be fun to hear about that experience as well, directly from him.
Well, you know what's so, I was just going to say what's so amazing about this year, Ron, is that you've scheduled 3 or 4 great things at once that I want to go to. It's impossible to see it all because there's so much to see every hour. There's Whitley Strieber and George Knapp and Yvonne Smith, and I mean, just great people and panel discussions. And I want to see it all because this is my research center. So, Scott, what were you going to say, Scott?
Well, I was going to say, since we're talking about who's going to be there, let's take a look. I'm going to kind of scroll through the speakers.
Sure.
And I'm going to scroll slowly. And definitely if there's someone you really want to mention, I mean, we're of course starting with some of the most famous, George Norrie. There's Jacques Vallée and Dr. Eric Davis that we were just talking about. I had George Knapp back in the day when I was doing those shows I talked about. George was one of our regulars who we would have on. He's been doing it for so long out of Las Vegas.
I just want to say Jacques Vallée is the godfather of UFO research. He goes back to the 1950s. He was J. Allen Hynek's protege, and there's no one who's more integrated. And you know what Jacques Vallée says? I still don't know what UFOs are. He says that. He says that.
Yeah.
And no, but that's what's so great about this conference.
I
Ron.
think that's the right answer. I don't like when people tell me they know what it is, because I
Right.
think, really, do you? I think that strengthens his position.
But that's
know,
what's so good about people
Here's the
coming
right-
together. Go ahead. I'm just
Human
sorry.
beings want to simplify everything. If somebody said, what does a human being look like? What is a human being? There's 8 billion of us. So if
Right.
there's 8 billion humans on one planet that all kind of came out of Lucy, God knows in an infinite sky how many species there are and how unique. How can we try and put a label on it? And that's the thing. I think there's going to be such a massive cognitive dissonance as this comes out, as people realize that so much of what they believed, whether they had a strong religious belief or a strong historical belief, it's all going to get blown wide open. And the hopefully a lot of people will be willing to just open their minds and go, okay, I don't know anything.
Right.
But unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of people who say, no, this is the truth. They're
But-
demons. They're here to save us. They're good guys. They're bad guys.
But
Whatever.
that's what's so good about this conference. It brings community people together. Each one has a kind of perspective on it. It gives us a chance to talk, compare notes, and not go to the old dogmas, but let's create like a new thesis about what's really going on here, because all the pieces are here. We just have to assemble it. So
Let's say we get Big D disclosure and they say that these 4 different alien types that they've named
Right.
comes out, that Hal Puthoff has referenced, as well as Dr. Eric Davis. And there's these 4 things. It's just going to open it up for more, because as Scott brilliantly just mentioned, it's so vast. Those 4 are probably going to tell us each about 20 more.
but
And
but
then
you know
there's
the
even more we don't know.
But the angle I like to look at is not just more species. What's their psyche like? How do their consciousness, which is telepathic, which merges with the ships, which can bend time and space, how is that going to affect us? There's something they know, and we're equal to them, as I feel, as far as consciousness. We don't have the upgraded sense of how to use our mind. My favorite quote by John Mack is UFOs are like an outreach program from the cosmos for the consciously impaired. We are the consciously impaired. So that's what is happening, a shift of reality. Don't you
We
think?
clearly do not have enough of a grip on our consciousness, an understanding deep
Right.
enough yet, which they may have.
Hopefully. I mean, you would have to think that their level of consciousness, I imagine, for the most part, is so much greater than ours because of the technology has to go hand in hand in consciousness. I want to continue to go through your speakers, and then we've got a question for you from Dr. Laura. But let's take a look at the amazing speakers you've got. Jimmy Church, who's a blast. Danny Sheehan, who's been on this show. He's on the show usually twice a year. We love Danny. He's amazing. Now, I do not know who Dr. Beatrice is. Somebody want to?
Go
Oh
ahead.
my
Ron.
God, she's fantastic. She's from Stockholm, Sweden, and she has looked at old plates of photographs of the atmosphere in the sky and noticed that some stars that were there, or points of light that should be there, are suddenly missing. And some just pop on briefly in one photograph and then they're gone. And so she's looking at, well, what's causing that? And how did this happen? So she's got some really remarkable research that she's going to be talking about with regards to this. I think it's incredible.
Right.
Oh, that's a really fun angle. Thank you for that. All right.
And back to that last picture, Diane Hennessy, who is the person behind the telepathy tapes. She's the one who found that non-verbal autistics are telepathic, and they did the whole telepathy tape series based on her work. And she really comes from a neurophysics background, but is also a mystic. So she's an important player, isn't she, Ron?
She is. My personal favorite speaker is her, and she's going to do a talk about how they've now discovered that these autistic savant non-speakers, they've discovered they have elevated levels of DMT in their system. And they're trying to figure out how that ties in to how they have these other abilities. They have heightened levels of DMT. That's a remarkable new discovery.
That's amazing. I didn't know that. That's fantastic.
She's going to talk specifically about that on her lecture. It's going to be great.
That is great. Okay, who else do we have?
We had a family of from the telepathy tapes that Desiree brought a couple of weeks ago. It was a great show. Okay, continuing on with our speakers. Whitley Strieber, of course. Whitley's been on the show many, many times. Avi Loeb, who became very famous publicly with the whole Three Eye Atlas. And now I don't know who Chris Ramsey is.
Well, Chris
Ramsey has a podcast. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, Pat, you tell him about the podcast. I'll talk about Jeff Nutricelli. Go ahead. Tell him about the podcast, Ron.
Well, Chris Ramsey is a new to podcaster. He's only been doing it for a couple of years. He's new to this community, as a matter of fact, but he has skyrocketed, has a huge following, and he does an incredible job. He has a very long, in-depth podcast. He does great interviews. And on top of that, he's a world-class magician. And we're going to do Magic in the Desert Saturday night. And we're going to get an hour of magic from Chris Ramsey, which is going to be amazing.
Wow.
All right.
Yeah, he's terrific.
The other guy up there, Jeff Nutricelli, was an Air Force military guy who testified in front of Congress and the world about seeing this red triangle craft over a military base and talking about
Vandenberg Bay.
Over Vandenberg. I remember him now when he was in front of the Congress. Right.
Right. And
now here, look at these one. Chris Bledsoe. He John Martin, who's on our show tonight, he and Chris are very similar in their energy and their relationship. And but I haven't met Chris yet, so I'm definitely looking forward to going to see him.
He is as nice and genuine and real of a guy that you will meet. He's got that Southern charm. He could not be nicer. He's a wonderful man. And, he'll do a Skywatch with us Sunday night. And he's got a lot of interesting things to say about the experiences that happen on his property.
Yeah, I call him a saint in the UFO field. He is so compassionate, and healings happen around him too. He pulls up orbs. So he's a very special guy. You're right.
A very special guy. All right. And the hits just keep on coming. Look at all these people. There's Paul Hynek, Alan Hynek's, and I love Carolyn Corey. Her films are terrific. She's been on the show mahany times.
We're debuting her brand new Superhuman 2 at Contact in the Desert. And it's remarkable. The Dahlia, who was up above there, and Dr. Diane Hennessy are in that film, and they talk about the mind sight. They're able to get some of these blind people to perceive, I don't want to say see, but they can now see through their mind. Even though they're born blind, even though they don't have eyeballs, literally, she has got them to be able to see. And they showcase this in Caroline's new movie, Superhuman 2, and it's amazing. Wow.
It's fantastic. I saw this guy who doesn't have eyeballs actually see in front of him. I was with Dahlia. It's like, wow, how is that possible? If that's possible for him, what's possible for all of us? That's what Diane's work is so important. That's why it's so important.
One funny tidbit, just as an interjection, this guy, the one you're talking about, Alan, when he looks at a computer screen, he literally, he can't judge distance, so he can't see what's on the screen. And when he looks at a computer, he literally sees the internal components.
Wow.
Because he's seeing and perceiving in that way. It's 100% true. It's incredible.
All right. Well, this is like really fun. It's like all your all-stars. Well, there's Stephen Bassett, who's in the Zoom room with us right now. So,
speaking of all-stars, yeah, there's one, Stephen Bassett, who knows more about this topic than anyone and stays on top of it by reading each and every article written anywhere in the world on a daily basis. It's fantastic.
I just
Yeah.
want to call out Hakeem Isler, who's the founder of the Psy Games, which is another fantastic gathering happening July 30th in Charlotte, North Carolina. He's putting together friendly competitions of remote viewing, telekinesis, psychic phenomena. He's a fantastic innovator. He'll be there. And
Sarah Bruxman, you brought her onto our show when we were at in Las Vegas for Stairway to the Stars.
yes, he's a
she's
great
fun.
pathway. Yes. Who else we have here?
Now, Dr. Riz, that guy, his whole thing about, is this all just a program? That's an interesting one.
We're doing a whole thing on the simulation theory, and they don't, it's not quite as much like we think of that when you just hear it, Scott. I thought, wait, do we live in a hard drive of an alien somewhere on their desk? It's
Right. It was
not
the Big
really
Bang when somebody
that.
pressed enter.
Yeah, they say it's not really that. It's more about being in a closed system of rules. And that's why they call it a simulation. But they make a hell of an argument, and it's really interesting points that they have about that.
Yeah. No, he's fascinating. So I definitely want to go to what he has to say. And then Deep Prasad, he was one of my favorite people at Conscious Life Expo. And I know you've gotten to know him, haven't you, Alan?
Yeah, well, he's a scientist who's studying quantum physics, quantum structures and satellites, but he's also an experiencer. And he says his ET contact changed his view of science and brought him much deeper into our understanding artificial intelligence, developing new systems. He is a cutting edge thinker, really amazing.
And he's doing a AI panel with Dean, as a matter of fact. Our very own Dean Aliato is joining us. They're doing a specific talk just on artificial intelligence, and that
Right.
too sounds really, really fascinating. And that girl on there, Sarah Gam, next on the next one over there, Sarah Gam, she is on the was what was called the UAP task force,
Oh,
and we just had her on our Beyond Contact podcast, and she was talking about what it was like to get to see a lot of these videos, and she's not allowed to talk about them, and how difficult that is for her. But she has a lot of inside knowledge as being part of that. So she's a very interesting person and an up and comer in this world as well.
mhm.
Well,
You know,
and the
I-
hits just keep on coming. I'm gonna continue scrolling because we've got
John Smith is one of the old time abduction regressionists. There's JJ and Desiree. Alexis Brooks is a great researcher. There's Dean, who's on a show, and Brad Olson and Bill. The Crystal Skull itself will be there. Mitchell Hedges. So that's a whole experience. Like Greg Bishop's work. There is
Ron James. He's with us tonight.
Ronnie
We hear
James
from
right
Ron.
there, absolutely. Yeah, I mean
And
we could do that. Look at
Mr.
Mr. Alan Seinfeld right there.
Well, there I
Yeah,
am.
this
Yeah.
is it's just a great lineup top to bottom. It's going to be a lot of fun.
filmmakers. Yes, yes.
All right,
Great.
so
I didn't want to cut you guys off. We want to go to Steve. I don't want to.
we're going to go to Steve in a moment, but there is a question that there's so many questions that we're going to save most of them for our roundtable conversation. But Dr. Laura has a great one since we're talking about contact in the desert. At previous Contact in the Desert conferences, have the UFOs shown up and have people seen them?
Well, people absolutely allegedly have seen them. Contact in the Desert used to take place out in Joshua Tree in the desert, and they did sky watches there as well. And Alan, were you part of that? Did you get to see?
I was. I actually have to say, even though he's not my favorite UFO, when I was with Stephen Greer, we meditate, and then all over the stage, I saw this green bursting orb. It's like, wow. I mean, so there were things actually in Joshua Tree is a kind of central location. But Chris, I heard last year, Chris Bledsoe had
Absolutely.
tell me
I have
about
heard that as well, that some people did see stuff last year, and he's going to do it again this year, Sunday night. So hopefully we'll get some action.
All right. All right. Well, we're going to bring up Mr. Bassett. And, Captain Ron kind of alluded to it, but it's really real. This guy studies every newspaper and tracks it all. He's like the walking Wikipedia of what's going on in this field. So it's always great to have you on the show, Steve. And tonight we are going to be supporting Steve. But what do you have to say about these last few weeks?
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, I need to clarify here. I am not the most knowledgeable person in this field, not by a long shot. I'm also not a researcher per se. Um, I am an activist, which is obsessed activist, with a relatively simple goal, and that's to prove everything aspect of what's happening, or clearly be able to state all the history, but to do what is necessary to get a particular goal. And one of the ways that I contribute is tracking the media and chronicling it and putting the links up to it so you can very easily go and find it. So on my website, paradigmresearchgroup.org, I have a media archive that I've been working on since 2006. Almost all the articles are linked to stuff on the net. Some were not on the net, but I was able to make copies. There are thousands of articles going back before like 1995, 90, which are sitting in archives, sitting in microfiche in the offices of the newspapers and what have you. The total number of articles written on the subject is probably up in the 50 to 60,000 range, and that's just English language press. So, but since I started putting those articles in, I'm up to 19,000, 18,000. And I'm currently, because of everything that's happened recently, 800 articles behind. I have to go log up 800 articles, put the little, the nice little image next to it. It is brutal. If I need 3 assistants in any event. So tracking the media is about the best thing you can do to get a sense of where the issue is. Because if major media are not covering it, that's a big deal. If they are covering it, but they're making a lot of fun of it, that's an issue. If they stop making fun of it, but they're creating huge articles, that tells you something. So the one thing I can say now is that media coverage of this issue has never been greater. It is way above anything in history. The percent of negative media that's out there in terms of professional media, less than 1%. The stigma is virtually gone. When you read an article in a New York Times or Washington Post, occasionally they feel rambunctious, but overall. So we're in a place we've never been, and that's how I track it. And I work with journalists. That's who I lobby. I can never really lobby Congress, but I can lobby journalists. You don't need to be a registered lobbyist to do that, but that's really what I'm doing. You lobby the journalists, they write the articles, a member in Congress see it, whatever. So the thing I'd like to say now is that this is a very unusual movement that I'm in and that we're all in, whether we know it or not. And it's unusual in this way. You want to talk about a really tough, complicated, incredibly difficult movement? Climate change and dealing with the inevitable changes that are coming. They're going to cause a lot of problems for a lot of people. How many moving parts, incredibly complicated, so many aspects, each one seemingly not, you can't overcome it. And it's been going on for a long time. God knows when they'll resolve much. That's hard. The disclosure movement is actually simple. I know people are saying, are you kidding me? No. Since 1947, it could have ended at any time, and it could end in 5 minutes, because this movement is about confirmation of the ET presence. That's really it. Everything else is ancillary to that. Pretty much happens after that. So the massive change requires only really one thing: not knowing what they have for breakfast, right? Not knowing whether they have a religion or don't have a religion or how the saucers work. We only need one thing: confirmation that they exist and are here. That is more than enough to begin a worldview change of extraordinary implications. Now, the other aspect of that is getting there is trivial. Any one of 14 presidents could have done it in a few minutes. They simply step into the Oval Office or in front of some press, but something formal, and simply confirm it. Yeah, I've talked with my defense and intelligence people, and they have confirmed that what you've been hearing is true. We have craft, we have bodies, they're not human. That's disclosure. It takes less than 5 minutes. Boom. And any one of 14 presidents could have done it. Truman in particular could have done it, I think. But most of the rest decided not to do it. And I assure you, they all know it was true. Carter kind of took a stab at it. No. Clinton was pushed very hard and did a lot of things. There was money spent. but it didn't happen. So as I'm going through my career, 30 years, I'm always aware that at any moment a president could just do it for the hell of it, right? You can't stop him or her, but there's no hers yet. Right? You can't stop him. What are you going to do? Tackle him as he's walking into the Oval Office? No. So it could have happened. And for that reason, as an activist, if something is that simple that gets you the goal, right? A hell of a lot more complicated than, say, getting a Civil Rights Act passed, then you're always leaning into it. You're always talking about how it's positive. There's things happening because you want to send a message to the president and others around him or her that, yeah, it's not hard. Just do it. So, but as it happens, they didn't. And so I developed a reputation as being the activist who cried wolf, cried disclosure over and over again. People are getting a little weary of that, and I get that. Okay, I understand. I appreciate it. I confess. But that's not what's going on now. All right, what's going on now is something entirely different. In other words, the policy that supports maintaining that truth embargo and had to be there. I mean, it couldn't be that there was no policy and no support for not doing it within the military intelligence structures, right? No support whatsoever. And a president would just come out and do it. No, that's not the way it was. It's a very big, a managed program that sits behind a president that has kind of made it kind of difficult. I call that the truth embargo. And it has managers and policy, and it's deep and wide and so forth. Doesn't mean the president can't still do it. It's still an easy thing to do. But that truth embargo and all that supported it was the principal barrier to coming forward. And the reason behind that supported that policy, the fundamental reason, without getting into all the accusations, was this. The fundamental decision was a national security matter. And it was a powerful national security matter because the decision was only in play until we began the nuclear arms race. And every year that got worse and worse. And therefore, the basis to maintain the truth embargo was solid, right? For a simple reason. If you're not sure what an incredibly and profound announcement or maneuver by the government could do and affect governments, people, and so forth, and possibly trigger a nuclear war, you're going to err on the side of don't do it. And I get that. I understand. I'm not really that angry about it. So the truth embargo is the glue that keeps it together, and it is falling apart. It is collapsing in real time. It's bleeding out everywhere. Dams are breaking, whatever. It's amazing. You can't even keep up with it. In the last 9 years, it's generated what is over now 10,000 mainstream media articles, pretty much being driven by the fact that this thing is collapsing. And everything that happens generates more news, and that generates more collapse. And so it's an escalating avalanche rolling down the mountain, heading for disclosure. There is no question about that. It's unprecedented. And that's why I can say with confidence, and I can give you 2 hours why I'm not going to do that, is that it could happen tomorrow. There is no fundamental, real basis for the president to be prevented from going out tomorrow and doing it, or any number of other heads of state. It will not be a shock. It will be received well. Many people will not be huge number of people won't be surprised. The polling numbers worldwide are amazing. And there may not be an issue of consequence that has the polling numbers as good as what you have on our. Or is this phenomena real? Is it non-human and so forth? So that's where we are. It could happen at any time. Now, what's preventing it from happening tomorrow? What the principal obstacle there is that coincidentally, we have entered into a time of enormous risk. The Iran situation is probably the most dangerous non-world war we have had. More dangerous than Vietnam, more dangerous than Afghanistan, because it just happens to involve a part of the world that it impacts energy, impacts food, impacts 8 or 9 nations, has all the basis for a third world war, which is when 8 or 9 countries have declared war against each other, and there's troops moving all over the place. It's that dangerous. Everybody understands this. There are very people that don't think that. So let me say, matter of factly, that if that didn't develop, if there was no Iran thing, and we were just dealing with the other stuff, blowing up a couple of boats in the Caribbean, maybe snatching a leader, we would have had disclosure already. But what has happened in Iran is what is the block right now. However, the fact is, in spite of that, it hasn't happened. But in spite of that, the people involved in that program, the people that support that particular action by the United States, as well as people of the most partisan politics, have refused to let go. And so as all that's happening, you've got people in Congress going out in front of cameras every week and saying, we want the files, or extraterrestrials are definitely here. We have the crash vehicles, and stuff is coming out. Some is coming out here. And so they can't stop it. And the number of members of Congress that have actually said almost deliberately or almost completely or partially that we're not alone is now up around 9, 10, 12. And then you've got other developments. And so this issue continues to move forward against whatever is happening in the world. And so if the Iran war situation gets better, it could open it up immediately. So I'm expecting disclosure this year, and it could happen tomorrow. But there is one other a caveat, not caveat, but point. Even though the Iran war is clearly making it a little more difficult for that particular action to take place, so then in a sense it's a negative, but it's also a positive. Because I assure you, there are a number of people in the administration, and I can talk about that at length, that have understand that this particular action by the president would be a palliative with respect to everything else that's going on. In other words, it is a universal positive. It will be difficult to find anybody that throws their hands up in the air and starts running down the hall. You will have enormous response to this. It will galvanize massive media. You will have people going out and marching, not to protest, but to celebrate. It will be a huge, and the head of state that actually triggers this event will get enormous legacy, enormous accolades, and their profile will improve. And that's a positive. And if I'm the president of the United States right now, I got to be thinking about that. And if I'm an advisor, I want to be advising about that. And so I'm doing huge numbers of podcasts, and I'm putting that message out every single time. And there's much more that I know that it's just no time for. But what I'm trying to say is this administration could do it tomorrow, and it will go just fine. And the last thing I'll say about this in the current context, the message that I'm most trying to get to the White House, and I've had one track in there. In other words, I had one way to get it in, not personally, but through an intermediary, and I know that it was delivered to someone close to the president. That's all I've been able to do. I don't have those kind of contacts by and large, but I was able to do that. And the message is simple. All these things that are happening are fantastic. And all the things that the president has chose to do is wonderful. And they're moving us in the right direction. However, all of those things are also reducing the bar to other heads of state to say, okay, I can do this now. All right. Hey, look what's happening. Look what the president of the United States has done. And, I'm not a potted plant. I got a pretty nice country here. I got an Air Force. We have gun camera footage. Might even have a crash vehicle. So I think I'll do it. And if that happens, well, our president is second, and you get nothing for second. And then you have to answer the tough questions. How in the hell did we learn about finally get the confirmation of this from that head of state, that prime minister or whatever, right? And not from you. So it is it goes from being a huge positive to a huge negative. And the second thing I would add if I were talking to the president is this. Look, you want to lead on this. I mean, it's nice to call for the files. And yeah, it's creating a billion people have now gone to the war.gov UFO page, billion hits. Yeah, you got their attention. All right. And you could keep doing that and let it come to you. And then at one point you could say, well, it's so obvious, I guess it's true, and announce it. And you're the disclosure head of state, unless another head of state is already beaten to you. What you want to do is lead. In other words, you make the calls, you talk to Hegseth, you really put the pressure on to get certain things confirmed, and you go to the public and say, I have confirmed this to my complete satisfaction. I've talked to the people that need to be talked to. And I can tell you today, we are not alone. We have a presence, almost certainly extraterrestrial. We have crashed vehicles. We have non-human bodies. And then let the additional evidence that comes out confirm what you have already confirmed. That is how you get the legacy in history. That is how you really make an enormous impact on the history of civilization, not just kind of let it dribble out until, well, I guess it has to be true. Now, I happen to believe that this point that I'm making should very much resonate with the modus operandi, the personality, and the psychology of our president, which is why I have some optimism that maybe it will happen. So all I can say today, folks, is it's been 80 years since Roswell, 30 years since I jumped into this issue because I didn't have anything better to do. And by God, I think it's about to happen. And when it does, say it happens 3 o'clock on a Friday, within 30 minutes, I will have a Zoom meeting open, and I will send out the link to my entire list. I will have a limit of 300, and I will invite anybody to simply drop in, share a little champagne, talk to some of the other people, and just kind of have a Zoom celebration as soon as possible of the post-disclosure world. And that's kind of where I'm at today, and I really appreciate being able to join you all.
Steve, before we move on and bring in our other people, I've got 2 quick questions for you. What's your take on was it a nudge that Obama did when he was on the podcast, I think maybe 3 weeks ago now, and very casually said, the guy says, "Are there aliens?" And Obama says,
Sure.
"Oh yeah, there are. I haven't seen them." And then he says, they haven't told me anything unless they're hiding things from the president.
Sure.
And then no more, the podcaster didn't ask any more questions, which
I got to take
the world's
I
worst
gotta-
interviewer, or he was, So what's your take on all of that?
I'll try to be as quick as possible. Barack Obama knows there's an extraterrestrial presence. The Clintons, I think, know. John Podesta knows. But he chose not to act on it during his administration. I can understand that. All right. But Barack Obama, well before the election, I think, was quite confident that Hillary Clinton was going to win, and her connection to the issue is bigger than his. And I made sure that as many people knew about that as possible, and was very pleased with myself. But she didn't. And then things changed radically. And we went to a new era. Right? Starts in 18. So now we're 17. So we're now 9 years into that, but an enormous amount has happened, right? We're just moving forward in spite of everything else. We're making great progress. Obama's watching this. I believe that he made a very clear decision. He did something you're not supposed to do, and he set it up. You don't go on a show, even, I don't care how good the show is. It could be a Jimmy Fallon, but it also could be Brian Taylor Cohen, who is a genius and has a tremendous podcast. And so he goes on. And somehow, just so happens that Brian asked him, "Are aliens real?" That's a setup. When you're an ex-president or a president, you just don't go on a show and just, I don't know what you're going to ask me, but, hit me with your best shot. You let it be clear what you're willing to talk about and what you're not willing to talk about.
Right.
Now, not everybody can do that. But if you're an ex-president, you can. And so he asked him, "Are aliens real?" Boom. And he comes back, "Yes, aliens are real." Now, that is a breach of protocol. He's an ex-president, just stepped into a massive issue that is on the plate of the current president. You don't do that. And so he's supposed to back out and say something like, "Well, what I mean is that there's a huge universe. There's clearly life out there, and it's real." And that's not what he did. He doubled down. He said, "But they're not under Area 51. He's not laughing at this point. They're not on Area 51. Now he's brought Area 51 into this. And then finally, a second double down. Unless, of course, there's a massive conspiracy to keep it from presidents. He just brought the truth embargo into this. He did it all in less than, I think, 2 minutes. And I instantly knew what he did. He decided to breach protocol in order to light a fire under the current president because things are just dragging on too long. I'd like to believe that Barack Obama shares the view with I have, that this could be a palliative. This could be something that could really shift course because we're headed right over the cliff right now into the pit, and it's filled with magma. And so he's thinking, let's get this going. I hope that's the case. But if it wasn't the case, nevertheless, within less than 24 hours, the president is asked about it while he's on Air Force One. And he gives an immediate response that's rather cryptic and unusual. He says, but that's classified. He can't do that, right? That's classified. Shouldn't have done it. And then he closes with something along the line of, but I may be able to help him out. Something like that. But
Yeah.
then, okay, I noted that. I'm going, that's interesting. But then what happens next? Before he has landed the plane, he has already put a directive out to Hegseth, formal. I want you to go get those bunch of files, right? Go get those files, start getting them and bringing them out. No president has ever done this, ever. Okay. And this is huge. Did the President Trump know this? Did he understand that what he was about to do was far more profound? He might have thought just, hey, I want to do this. People want it. I want to give it to them. I want to do the right thing, whatever, without realizing what he had done. When he made that directive to Hegseth, and Hegseth, of course, carried it out, and it became known, he just licensed every single editor and publisher of every print media, every producer of every news shows in the world, certainly English language, that this is now a story. You can cover this as much as you want. Put some reporters on and do this, do that, start interviewing it. He just legitimized it at a level it is never seen. And guess what? What happens? Huge numbers of articles. I'm trying to cover them. I got 700 I've got to load in, and they're still pouring out. And then the website that was set up as part of his directive, UFO, war.gov/UFO, immediately exploded with 350 million hits in 7 hours and has now hit 1 billion. And that also licenses the media, the editors, the publishers, and the news producers that I can cover this as much as I want. And that is why you put that together. We could have disclosure like that. And that's correct. And let's hope it happens.
Well, Steve, in a sense, people are waking up to the fact there is a presence here. It is in the sky. The government has been lying to us. That's for sure. So I would say, and it's a personal opinion, that we are in soft disclosure. Not a radical disclosure is the president, but people are waking up. Even that guy, Neil deGrasse Tyson, first he ridiculed it for the last 20 years, and now he's saying, guess what? They're here. So I know it's your thing as a president has to say it, but I think people are getting it. There is a presence here, and for me, that's disclosure.
I like what one of our people in the audience wrote. Carol Craig wrote, Obama baited him. And Trump is so competitive and inferior to Obama, he had to do it. And you know what? I think you're right, Carol.
I wouldn't use the word bait, but still, he triggered him. He knew that was going to happen. And by the way, I'm shocked that Tyson, right, has come over to our side at this later. I can't believe it. It's so fantastic. What can I say?
I don't trust him. I don't trust him. For years, he ridiculed it. He said those people in the Nimitz were seeing.
Okay, let's go there. You know where I want to go? Somewhere much more positive.
Okay,
we're going to go to how we can support Steve Bassett's work. This guy has been doing it for 30 years, and let's get him some help. Let's get him some volunteers. He needs help to do all this programming, and let's donate to him. So his website is paradigmresearchgroup.org. Paradigmresearchgroup.org. You can learn all about it. And in the upper left-hand corner, click donate. I'm going to donate right off the bat, and it's really easy. Just click donate, then click to donate, pop in how much you're going to donate, continue, and carry on. And we're going to put that into the chat box. Please, everybody, let's really support the incredible work that this man has been doing for 30 years. And that was it. This is the time. So let's please support him.
Selfless. He all he thinks about is this movement, doing this. So he needs to be supported because he has no time to work a real job. This is his life. This is his mission. And this is why your work is more important now than ever, Steve. So please support Steve Bassett. Absolutely.
There are many organizations that need support without question, right? Some of them have gotten that and will get more. I'm a little bit of an outlier. When I got into this 30 years ago, but just me, right? Uh, I figured out how I could get some attention from the media, particularly the Washington Post, and I did as a first lobbyist and all that. And then I continued forward with an effort to just be an activist. Now, I made some choices back then, which may have been wrong, but one of them was one, I'm not going to put anything I do behind a paywall. I'm not going to sell merchandise. I'm going to simply earn support. Okay. Earn support through contributions. I did not set up as a nonprofit initially. I worked like a nonprofit as a sole proprietorship because I was aware that when you are a nonprofit activist group, the government can take you out at any time. All they have to do is do a quick investigation and decide, no, you have violated some of the rules. Therefore, you're shut down. Therefore, you owe taxes on everything you put together. And I wanted to be insulated from that. Probably kept that too long. But now, of course, I am a nonprofit. And the other thing is that I underestimated my ability to raise nonprofit funding. I'm missing certain skills there. It's very hard for me to ask for things, which that sounds ridiculous. And so I learned how to just do with little, and that's the path that I took. I answer to no one. I do and say what I want to do. But now that we're getting to the end game, I'm thinking, God, what I could do with this amount and that amount and so forth. Meanwhile, others who, starting with some decent money, they're just rocketing forward. God bless them. And I'm kind of getting left behind, and I'd like to get a little more into the game. I can't go back and undo my choices, but I do have some projects I could do, and I don't need massive money. The things I have, don't need 800,000, 200,000, $15,000, $20,000, and I can rock. So that's kind of where I'm at. And obviously I welcome any and all tax deductible support.
Let's all do it, everybody. I just donated to Steve, and I hope that you all will too. So again, go to paradigmresearchgroup.org. In the upper left-hand corner, you'll find the donate button. We're going to have Steve and Captain Ron and two other amazing guests. But we're going to take a little break, and we're going to go to John Martin. Because John, you have become one of our favorite people on this show. People literally say, when's John Martin going to be on? When are we going to hear John again? And I always like to say that, John, for me, you are role modeling how to do life, to really speak to your galactic family with so much love and to play music for them. And you're rewarded with this incredible experience every night. So for anybody who doesn't know about John, tell people a little bit about your history, and then I know I've got a video queued up to play.
Thanks, Scott. It's a great pleasure to be here. I'm a classically trained musician. I've been playing for over 50 years, and I had dinner with President Carter in Spain, and we discussed UFOs, and it was such a beautiful experience. And I did a mind experiment or a thought experiment. If I combined music and projecting into the universe, like from Close Encounters of the Third Kind, would I have any kind of reaction from the universe? And so I started out on my deck, and I was playing Bach and Ravel and original pieces, flamenco, just, whatever came to mind. And I was projecting love and positive thought into the universe at the same time. And I was walking my dog, and I came back to right into my home. We live in a townhouse just north of Atlanta, and directly over our home was a purple plasma craft with a pink ring that was spinning about a third up from the bottom of the bell, just silent, just absolutely beautiful. And I ran in and got Karen. She came out and saw it. She was in a robe and just couldn't believe it, and it was so amazing. And so I kept playing guitar, and 4 more craft came in line, 2 sets of 2 a couple days later, and then the really big ones came. It was a cross and a crescent, metallic, 45-degree angle that came over my home. And I was fumbling with my camera, and in my mind, they said, "Please don't take our picture. We'll give you something you can take a picture of." And a few days later, in my courtyard, this beautiful heart-shaped cloud. I called them aeroglyphs, and these are gifts from our star family, and it's something that's available to all of us. I think that's really what I want to convey here is we have 8 billion fingerprints. Each person is so completely unique, and the universe is so interested in who we are and what we do, and if you share that with our star family, you will be greatly rewarded. And that's what I've done. I've made it a daily practice. I go next door to my little park, and I project. I can use my mind and just project into the universe, and all these beautiful craft and entities have come, and it's a beautiful experience. And I think if we all can just have faith in ourselves that what we have to offer the universe is of great value, that I think we could truly save the world from this really disastrous place we're in right now. And that's what I've kind of dedicated the last few years to, Scott.
Oh, thank you, John. I'm going to play a short video right now. And then at the very, very, very end of the show, we've got a longer video of John's. But here we go. Let's take a look at some of what John creates and experiences.
I think it stuck, Scott, for some reason.
Mm.
Can you see the video?
Yes.
Okay, I'm not going to see it.
Thank you for coming to see me. Thank you so much for friends. Thank you so much.
Wow. I mean, that's not the greatest thing you've ever seen. Wow, friends. I mean, that's not the greatest thing you've ever seen. Wow, friends. Spectacular. That is in there. That's amazing. That's wonderful. Thank you, friends. Wonderful. Thank you, my friends. That's just great. Oh, what was that? Right there. I see you, friend. Wow. Beautiful. There, my friends. Fantastic. Gorgeous. There's a craft, for sure. Thank you, beautiful ones. My gracious, that's beautiful. Wow, lovely.
Come here, Bo. Much closer. friend. Wow. Hey, beautiful one. It's just truly amazing.
Friend. Beautiful. Hey, loveliest. Hey, my dear ones. How gorgeous. Absolutely beautiful, dear friends. Fantastic.
To signal your music makes them feel the wonders of how the cosmos responds. I really feel that.
And I can feel your frequency, Altair, and you are aligned beautifully with the universe. And that's what happens is you're just naturally aligned with something that's so inspiring and so beautiful and so important and so loving and giving. And it's so amazing, really.
So beautiful, John. Captain Ron, I saw you were watching. I saw you watching closely. How was your experience with of John and what he does?
I thought it was very cool that they, came in and they're very clear, distinct shapes. It reminded me very much of Chris Bledsoe and some of his footage, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a real similarity between John and his experience and Chris Bledsoe. Chris is a little more famous, but they both have that just beautiful, sweet spirit. And, they say that our vibration has a lot to do with what we experience. And I believe that to be true. The more we raise our vibration. And John, and as best as I can tell, Chris, are both very high vibration beings. They're very loving, they're very gentle, they're very kind. So as a result, they have the experiences.
I've heard it time and time again that people that try to do these sorts of CE5 type things, they say if they're not in the right state of mind and in a positive, loving space, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So I've heard that so many times that feels like that must be part of the experience.
Yeah.
So isn't that something the ETs, or whoever they are trying to tell us, Scott, that maybe we need to shift our consciousness for them to really be part of our world? I mean, John is a perfect example. Chris is an amazing person. So these beings, these people pulling these ships. So what if we were all in that state of mind that John Martin puts out? That would change the world.
Well, we would, if everybody was in John's state of mind, would be experiencing heaven on earth. And then it would be a safe place for them to come. According to Danny Sheehan, it's Project Tiger Strike Force that's, designed to shoot them down, right?
Yeah.
So, we're going to have a wonderful roundtable conversation, but I wanted to bring Alan and Captain Ron in. John's going to be back a little bit, but we are going to now hear from Ron James and, and his buddy, Dean, if they turn on their cameras. You got to turn on your cameras, guys. There's Dean. I really want to acknowledge it's so important to get the word out. And we've heard from Steve Bassett, who does it as an activist. Well, these two guys are doing it as filmmakers. And you both have really made just a huge contribution to helping people really know what's going on. So welcome probably the two main filmmakers of the UFO movement, Ron James, who does everything for MUFON. Dean, I'm really looking forward to learning about you and your work. And so, I'm going to kind of talk to both of you. You guys got quite a bit of time. Tell us a little bit about what you've learned and kind of your evolution in this field. And let's start with you, Dean. You need to unmute, though. Yeah, there we go.
There we go. That's the tough question. What have we learned in this field? I've been kind of a prosumer, armchair prosumer, not an expert my whole life, interested in this. And then the last nearly 10 years, hardcore into it, and doing close to 70 interviews. And what the first thing you learn is you learn what you don't know. And that's pretty vast. You have ideas. It doesn't matter whose books you're reading. If you're reading Jacques Vallée's Dimensions, which was my kind of primer for the longest time, or Alan, Jay Hynek's work. I think ultimately what you learn is, as Jacques Vallée says, and Greg Bishop, my buddy, is always saying to me whenever we're talking about things, which is high strangeness. There's a whole editorial curation that goes on with the experiencers telling their story, where some things are a little too fantastical, and they're persuaded not to divulge everything. And so these are the things, like Greg will say, I don't trust a case unless it has something that's a little bit odd, a little bit off, because that gives us the nuance of a personal experience, separate from the generic, this happened, the ship and the lights, and So, but what's been amazing is pulling in voices. For me, I don't necessarily I don't play a big part in the actual production of the films, which, with regards to myself, I don't do follow docs. However, I do love follow docs. I love it when someone can take command. I don't feel comfortable being that person, because I find that I'm more, for me, I really just want to have people kind of present their stuff, and then I've got to augment it with counter opinions or opinions that underscore what they're saying. And so I feel like after all these interviews, from Harvard to Carnegie Mellon to Montana Tech University, talking to these guys who are much more intelligent than I am, I find that we're giving pieces to the puzzle. And so after nearly a decade, I'm looking at these pieces and I'm going, oh, the puzzle's much bigger than I thought it was. Damn, I thought I had 3 corners put together. And it turns out that no, there's another corner. It doesn't have to be 4 corners. So I'm embracing that. I'm embracing the unknown. But the one thing that I will say is that whatever is happening with the experiencers, this is where the buck stops. It's like right now, I feel like the congressional hearings has been all about talking to the generals and everyone after the beach, Normandy, has been stormed. The first wave of these people coming in, the boots on the ground people, these are the experiencers. And so I've made 2 other documentaries before, which is The Alien Perspective Part 1 and 2. And this is the 3rd one, and this is all about the experiencers and them telling their story. And so I feel like what's been going on with regards to the hearings has really been showing the elephant's tail, but not the elephant in the room. So I think the experiencers should have a seat at the table at these hearings, and it needs to be done couched in a way that is not too sensationalized, because it's already sensational enough. But my bigger concern, and then I'll shut up and we'll go to Sir Ron James, is this demonizing. We were talking about this a little bit beforehand, this weaponizing of religion and wielding it in strange ways. And now they're wielding it in the phenomenon. And so not that hasn't been done before, but not to the degree that it's being done. It feels like we're being, I don't want to say being set up, but it does feel like this is being branded in a way that's dangerous. And I think the administration is aware of what's going on with that. And the experiencers are freaking out. And that needs to be addressed. And I've talked to them. Yvonne Smith, who was in our documentary, we're working on a campaign to stop that right now, because that's not helpful at all. And that's the last thing we need, is for these experiencers to have to go back in the closet. So that's me.
I just want to riff for a moment before we go to Sir Ron. I like that. High strangeness is such an important part of this. And having interviewed a lot of abductees and experiencers for 30 years, those are the common things. The common things is there's always some form of high strangeness, but Joe's high strangeness is different than Ron's, which is different than Dean's. And also there's complete change of consciousness. It's a complete, people go into cognitive dissonance, or their whole reality changes, which is temporarily hard and ultimately good. And I think, Whitley Strieber, who's been on the show many times, kind of has been the poster child for that. When he wrote Communion, it was kind of more scary, terrifying. And now he sees that all those things are actually part of his evolution. And so a question to both of you, is that something you've also observed with the experiencers and abductees that you've interviewed?
Yeah, well, just to finish off with that, yeah, it absolutely is. And my feeling is, in my new documentary, The Experiencers Full Disclosure, we look into that, and we also look into projecting out what does that look like? What does it look like when the experiencers are given a seat at the table? What is this going to reveal about us? But I think ultimately it comes down to, and I forgot who was saying this, but we really need to have this be about the environment, man. Forget about everything else. And if we can't survive on this planet, which is, what the aliens have two messages: technology isn't helping you, that we're using, and I happen to think it's actually this, and not necessarily nuclear bombs. And it's also to do with the planet, that you have to take care of it. And so anyway, that's my take on that. Ron?
Beautiful. Sir Ron.
Well, there's a lot to unpack there. I want to mention that in the chat, you've got some really bad links in there that aren't working and some incorrect information. So maybe you could lose that bio and put one that they supplied. I don't want to send people to the wrong place.
All right.
I've been saying for a long time, and Dean's doing some amazing work, and him and I think, were talking just yesterday about this stuff. The experiencers are going to have their day, and it's going to be long overdue. The fact of the matter is, we cannot assemble this puzzle without taking into account the valuable contribution that these stories make. Now, that being said, I have sat in meetings with numerous members of Congress, and I have moved the conversation forward about, there's this whole thing with Roswell, and it's been reverse engineering programs and all the secrecy and all the stuff that a UFO investigator that is a civilian and not bound by secrecy would say to a congressperson. And I've said these things. And I have also witnessed what happens when you start to try to shimmy into the experiencer phenomenon and how it might be valid, and all of the things about, possible genetic programs and abductions and contact with non-human intelligence that is happening to people that are receiving messages. And unfortunately, right now, that is when their eyes glaze over and they're just not ready. Some of them are personally absorbing the information, but I don't think we're going to see a hearing anytime soon where experiencers are telling their stories. I think that it's important that it happens, and it's going to happen probably sooner or later, but I just don't think these guys are ready for it. And frankly, I'm not sure that the world is ready for it. We've spent all of this time kind of priming people for the possibility that our military is involved and knows more about what they're phrasing as some sort of non-human intelligence. They're going to tell us that it's possible there's non-human intelligence. They don't know what it is. And, let's all find out together. And we haven't been reverse engineering anything. We would have told you. And this is what we're getting in the Washington, D.C. version of disclosure. And so the ball is moving very, very slowly. it's up to us and filmmakers like Dean, whose next film comes out very soon. I think the same day as mine on the second, right, Dean? It's focusing on this, and these people are telling similar stories all over the world. And Dean has hit the nail right on the head again when he's talking about the environment. One of the biggest consistent messages that people having these experiences are coming back with is the importance of being good stewards of this planet. And, you know, if you look at it from the standpoint of, say, a galactic federation, if such exists, I tend to think that it's quite possible. They're not going to, Earth is a very valuable piece of galactic real estate. It's a prime planet. It's beachfront, you know, and so there are probably many different species and different beings that have different agendas and different hopes and different interests in this floating globe that we all live on. So the experiencers are coming forth with stories. And more importantly, as we outline in my new film that's coming out in a few days, Accidental Truth Next, they're coming now with actual physical things. Experiencers are being literally gifted with physical objects that, when tested, are denying explanation. And we have 3 cases of these in the movie. And so it's almost like, in order to bolster the experiencers' stories, they are now getting things that they could say, yeah, well, you know, take this to a lab. I have some of this right here that came from a very famous UFO case. We outline it in the film. We turned it over to Kirsten Gillibrand's office in Congress. It got tested by Arrow at the same time we were testing stuff. And the results are very, very interesting. They debunked it. Our tests say it's something significant. So who knows? But the bottom line is that there's a lot of people out there that are coming forth with stories, and they're coming forth with physical evidence as well. And that, I think, is a big evolution in the experiencer story.
Right. Excellent, Ron. That's good.
Ron, please put into the chat box the link that is the best link for us to learn about Accidental Truth and whatever else you want us to know. I apologize for, I guess we put in an old link for you.
Well, they had some links to a Reddit column where somebody was actually chewing me out. So,
oh, well, we don't want that. We definitely don't want that.
I'm sorry. I thought I deleted that, Ron. Jeez, that's embarrassing.
Anyway, I do.
You know, I was on Vetted one time, and I was talking about, you know, I was reviewing the cases I was going to use in the new film, and Patrick was like, I told him that somebody had given us some pictures that were supposedly a crash flying saucer, and Patrick was like, "Oh, come on, show us." So I held it up, and you know, I didn't say it was a picture of a UFO. I just said it was something that we were given. But the internet was able to quickly debunk it, which I was actually happy that they did. It saved me a lot of work. But yeah, you know, the Reddit territory and the Twitter territory has become very, very vicious over the years. And ever since the UFO field has always been a little bit rough and tumble. You know, we all know this. But the new generation of people that have entered through social media and everything else, now that this topic gets bigger and bigger, they're twice as mean and they know half as much. And so it's you know, it's a very interesting landscape out there. Here, I'll send this link.
I want to get back to the experiencer issue, because when you talk about people having face-to-face contact or even abduction, that they don't know how to deal with that, people, but it needs to be said. We need to lay it all out on the table, saying, guess this is what's happening. There's a hybrid program. People are being taken. There's genetic manipulation. How do we say that in a way that some people can start to hear it? I mean,
we have to make a better case first.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of evidence, literal evidence for these things like crash retrieval programs and crashes that happened and investigations. There is a very good body of empirical evidence to suggest that it's real. There is far less actual evidence that a skeptic is going to accept to vouch for the different things that you just mentioned. We have stories of people saying that there's these genetic programs, but we don't have any real actual, what a scientist would say, that's very interesting, I'm going to have to look at this.
But we have missing
besides just people giving testimony, there's very little actual evidence that is out there. And that's what you have to do if you're going to roll this out, is you have to say, what can I do? What can I present that will make the biggest skeptic at least take a breath and relook at their skepticism, because anything else just isn't strong enough to come out with.
I just want to say, I interviewed someone who talked about missing pregnancies. Like was pregnant with twins, and suddenly there was one fetus that missing. That doesn't prove anything, but it's evidence of something. What do you say, Dean?
Well, it's what's tough is for me in this, like the first two documentaries I did. First of all, I'm serving two masters when I'm making these documentaries, and Ron knows this because his perfectly straddle it. Is you've got the UFO community, you got to hold in one hand, and you have to give them mic drops, and then on the other hand, we're trying to convert to a degree, not convert, but we're trying to. I make the joke that by UFO curious, allow them to be able to go, wait, what? And have a primer and get them going and take the ball and run with it without saying, here is everything spelled out. So the first two documentaries we start at NASA, and then at the end of it, we end up looking at material. And so that's the nuts and bolts. This one with the experiencers, it took me about 3/4 of the way in the documentary before I get into the hybrid program, because there's enough stuff going on. You have to lead people in. And we start out with Harvard professor, Dr. George Church, who was instrumental in CRISPR. He took it from $2 billion to $300 to use it. An amazing mind. And he was willing to talk about this. And so he gets into all that. But in order for people to fully take this in, this is a new paradigm shift. And there's also ontological shock. One of the things that I say to my friends sometimes when they'll, give me, some grief about it, is they'll say, yeah, I want to see, one of these aliens. What's the big deal? I want to see them. And I say, okay, broad daylight, pretty safe. You're out there, you're on your deck, you're kicked back, you're reading a book. Maybe it's a Harlequin romance novel. Don't judge. And you look over at the end of the porch and you see a chimpanzee poke its head out. And he looks at you for a little bit and you're going, this context does not relate to anything that I know of. And then it darts back around the corner and it's gone. How shocking that would be. Now imagine a gray bean poking its head around, looking at you and leaving. You're going to be working, munching on that to say, that didn't happen. I must have been hallucinating, must have been doing this and that. And so people underestimate how dramatic this is for these experiencers and how they get the journey that it takes to get them to a place of having peace with it and realize that it could have been something that they agreed to before they came into this life. Who knows? But it's something that you have to kind of just respect the phenomenon in a way. And you have to respect the people who are going through it. And so our messaging at the end of our film, The Experiencers Full Disclosure, is empathy. You wouldn't say to someone, oh, you were abducted? What color was the van? Was the guy wearing a ski mask? But yet we have no problem going, oh, was it a gray alien, big eyes? Was it a flying saucer or a triangle? It's ridiculous. These people are going through genuine PTSD. And that's when Mac got on board the phenomenon and went, wait, I've come through their past, and the only thing that's disturbing are these things in their past, and I can see it on a PET scan, whatever. So it's legit. The evidence, as Ron was saying, it's very hard to come by. But if you were doing this as a case like a crime scene, and I worked on crime shows for 20 years, if you have a spouse that's witnessing what's happening in that room going on, that to me is validation. It's triangulation. It's two people, and if you want to, put them in a lie detector and you're going to see that they're going to pass. Lastly, Travis Walton, you know how many times he took a lie detector test? 5 times. And guess how many times he passed? 5 times. So for me, I don't really care about
Actually, didn't they put him on a national TV show and he failed a lie detector test?
The last question.
Yeah. Sorry.
Anyway, I think this is what we actually have to talk about as a public discussion, that this does happen. What do you think, Captain Ron? I mean, how do you look at this bigger picture of what's going on in the phenomena, with the phenomena? I mean,
Well, they're talking specifically about the experiencers and what they're dealing with. And yeah, I'm very compelled by the people who have told me their first person accounts. I think they're very moving, and it's overlooked how this affects their lives. They often lose their job, lose their spouse, lose whatever. It's extremely traumatic to them, and I think that shouldn't be overlooked.
Right. One more thing I want to put out there is that there seems to be a change in consciousness, maybe good, very bad, but I think the phenomenon is trying to somehow wake us up to a broader way of looking at ourselves, not as victims, but as a part of a greater reality. There seems to be that element here. And I don't know. What do you? Well, John Martin, what do you think? I mean, you've done it yourself. You've changed your consciousness.
I think we have to take agency over the experience and know that we deserve to share ourselves with the universe. And when you do that, I've never had any terrible experiences. I've had thousands of interactions with our star family, and it's a beautiful experience. And we just have to be open to it, and you have to make it a part of your daily experience. When I'm outside, I talk to our star family. I tell them about what's going on in my life, and good things and difficult things. Believe me, I've had some really tough stuff I've dealt with. I was dealing with a really difficult issue at one point, and they made this beautiful heart cloud with a little piece taken out of the side. That's in the video at the end. You'll see it. And that was just a showing of empathy from our star family, that they understand this is a challenge to live in this very, very difficult third dimension that we all are kind of trapped in at the moment. But I think we can ascend if enough of us make the effort to try, really.
I just have a quick question for Steve Bassett. I know, Steve, where this is a further conversation down the line. When do we get to the experiencer question once disclosure happens, in your opinion? Unmute.
Look, the disclosure, capital D disclosure, will liberate the contactees finally. But until then, it's limited, because disclosure is a political act, political decision from the president. And you got to have support of Congress. You need the media to get to a certain point. If you all these hundreds and hundreds of articles I've logged in the last year, thousands actually, almost none deal with contact, or certainly induction. There's a lot of the media and the politicians, they can't absorb that. I think they kind of know it's out there, but to the extent that it's out there, while they do what they're doing and get to where we have to go, that is what they want. And I'm afraid that's just a real politique. Now, when the president discloses, contactees will immediately start getting attention, enormous amounts of attention, because the entire world is told there are ETs here. And there are these people that said they've had contact with ETs. And while, the Department of Defense is not going to answer your emails about what they look like and where, but the contactees can. So suddenly they'll go from being problematic to being a major asset. This will help a little bit. To the extent that they're appreciated, some of the PTSD will be mitigated, but they have had that. There's been a cost. We have a number of species here. They don't all have the same agenda. We're not alone, but we're part of a larger thing. And so we're going to learn that some of what was happening here was serving the extraterrestrials, something they needed, right? We're already planning on how we can get stuff from the moon and asteroids and whatever else. Sure, that's what you do. So that will have to be reconciled. I feel pretty good that it won't be too bad, but it will be awkward, right? I mean, the government's response to how in the hell did you let this happen? The answer is quite simple. We couldn't stop it. Okay. Now, the idea that they approved it or cut a deal, that's another matter. I'm not particularly confident about that thread, but we're part of a larger universe. And so, yeah, there's a lot of complex stuff going on, and we're going to have to deal with it. We're going to have to talk about it and explore it. And it would help if the government gave us as much truth as possible. But it is awful for some people, as contact is, particularly the hybrid program. If you look at the sum and total of what the ETs are doing there, it pales in comparison to what humans are doing to each other. things that are just beyond awful. And so we need to keep things in perspective. That's about all I can say there. I have always honored the contactees. I do bring it up, but when dealing with the media or anything political, I just shove that up in front and say, look, you got to talk to me because we got people having hybrid children. No, you cannot do that. But the sooner we get disclosure, the sooner that changes, and they can come out of the closet and receive the accolades of their relatives that have been tormenting at every Thanksgiving dinner for the last 20 years. And that's good. It's progress, but it's not perfect. And is anything perfect right now?
No, it's a work in progress for
Ron
sure.
James, you got a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify what I said earlier about the evidence for the experiencers to appear at a congressional hearing. That's a very high bar, and that's why I stated a very high bar. But the other element of it is that this discussion is moving in completely new directions, and whether or not we're being engaged by non-human intelligence or not is really no longer the question. The question is what is going to be next for society. And in this new film, I'm not trying to plug it, but I will. We cover this stuff. We take you into Washington, D.C. We give you a peeled back view of the inside of the political process of disclosure, unlike anybody's ever seen. And then we take you into the thought experiment of what is next. How does artificial intelligence, how does simulation theory, how does our most ancient of spiritual teachings, what about the principle that consciousness is fundamental? Maybe these things are here just to make us take a better look at reality. We're asking the questions that are truly next. And I think that this crowd especially is serving a really important market, but we're also serving a lot of people who already know this stuff. And so moving the conversation forward into the broader implications, that's part of what we should be doing. And the more we can do that, and the more we can bring some of these thoughts into the reality and some of these understandings, the easier it's going to be for the people that are experiencers to come forward and find their place in the conversation.
Right. It's interesting how intricate the phenomena really is, Scott, and how multifaceted and where people are coming in from what level. That all has to be taken into account. Absolutely. Scott, what were you saying?
So just want to let everybody know, because I was obviously showing it, but again, the place to go to see Ron's film is accidentaltruthnext.com. And I'm seeing here that we can actually watch it for free on YouTube now. Is that?
No, that's the first Accidental Truth. That's the movie that came out in 2023. It won 28 film festivals, and it's now, I've made it free on YouTube for anybody that wants to watch it. And the new movie Accidental Truth Next comes out on Amazon and Apple TV and YouTube movies. And Dean's movie, we got to give him a chance to plug his. It comes out the same day. So
did you guys plan that?
No, not that I'm aware of. The thing that was more important, and everything else takes a back seat, and it's even embarrassing for me to take up any oxygen here, is Contact in the Desert. Contact in the Desert, man. That's we back into the release. There's a website for our film. So Contact in the Desert
we're gonna promote Contact in the Desert in 20 seconds. But since I'm
promoting the world premiere of my film at Contact.
Yeah, we're
in the
both
Desert.
showing our films
there we
for
go.
free at Contact.
All right.
Yeah, and also Ron James is premiering his film, so it's a big premiere event.
Yeah, and it's amazing.
There's some other guys there too. I can't remember his name.
No, there's no one else. It's just us, Ron. I checked. So you can just...
Well, Carolyn Corey's premiering a film, isn't she? And and that's why Contact in the Desert's a cultural center. It's not just people coming around. It's incorporating a much broader base that filters out into the mainstream as well. So
do you remember 2 years ago, David Grush came out on the last day of Contact in the Desert? Do you guys remember what a thrill that was to have all of us together when that happened? It was totally awesome.
So cool.
What were you saying, Ron?
On June 2nd, all those films drop. I think Caroline's comes out that day, as well as Dean's and Ron's. So if you don't want to wait that long, you just go to Contact in the Desert and you can see them all For
That's
that.
a deal. That's a deal.
That's the way to go. So we all want to go to Contact in the Desert.
I'm looking forward to Dean's film. I've already seen mine.
We're going to.
I've seen
forward
them
to seeing
both,
yours,
and they're
Ron.
both fantastic.
We're
Yeah.
going to come back to you guys, and we're going to do panel conversation. There's a lot of questions that have come up from our audience, but we're going to take a little break for 5 minutes. You guys can go make some tea and to kind of integrate everything we've heard and get ready for the questions we've got for you. We're going to swing over to Omar Shah for our mid-show song. Take it away, brother.
This tale I tell, it has no ending. I'd like you to know we are all on an incredible journey, a traveling show. I've been looking at you in your homeland, watching you grow, weaving light into creation, a heavenly glow. I have been inside you for so long, I will be with you forever. Come with me, let's spiral through the stars. A part of you has always remembered since the beginning of time. Through your hearts you felt my presence, a knowing sublime. I've been guiding you beyond your perception, forever your friend. Take some time and get to know me, I'll welcome you home. I'll welcome you home. I have been inside you for so long, I will be with you forever. Come with me, let's spiral through the stars. We have been inside you for so long, we will be with you forever. We'll come with you and spiral through the stars.
beautiful, Omashar. Wow.
What a beautiful, perfect song. Let's all give some love and twinkles and appreciation to our beloved brother.
And thank you, Desiree. That really lifted me. Thank you.
That was lovely. Thank you. And we'll have one more Omashar and Desiree experience coming up in a little bit. All right, I'm going to bring our panelists up again. And I'm going to start with a question. I'll put it out while I'm kind of finding all of you. And Omashar, feel free to add people too. Bring up our guests. So I want to kind of look at it from most of our audience already knows, and I want to look at it from the kind of consciousness point of view for a moment. So to what degree do you think people who are experiencers are having an experience that's actually taking place in group consensus reality? And how many are having an experience that's just as real for them, but it's not taking place in the same group consensus reality? Of course, what made Roswell so significant, it took place in group consensus reality. So
I just want to say, it seems like the phenomena, there's a merging of objective and subjective reality. That's one of the patterns we see. So you're wanting to say, was it objective or subjective? What these ETs and the phenomena are doing is merging consciousness. So you think your mind is your own, but the telepathy tapes teach us that the mind is malleable. It's penetrable. So that is what has to change, I think, in my opinion, about experience, about the whole phenomena. Is it objective? Is it subjective? Can it be both? Yes, in my opinion. I don't know. Dean, you've been studying this. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, everything that is happening. I mean, Yvonne Smith wrote a book called, I believe, Chosen, which was a group abduction that happened in Coronado Island near, in San Diego, and it included President Clinton, who was there, and a group of people that had missing time and were apparently allegedly abducted. So it does happen. I mean, if you look at Dr. Brian Weiss, right? Here's someone who deals from Cornell, professor, psychiatrist, who has written great books on reincarnations. He talks about that people reincarnate in groups, and that he finds in his research anywhere from 15 to 25 people. And so when there is a group of people that have this shared experience, I wonder if that isn't kind of some of us, something to do with a soul contract that's going on. But people many times will bump into other people while they're having these events. There's a story of one person who saw a painting, and an experiencer who saw a painting of a location that she's gone to when she's taken. And it turns out the person that had done that painting was actually someone who was in that group, in that experience. And they connected, and it was like, oh my God, I saw you on this. And that happens a lot. Just look at the Berkshire case. That was a collective group where things happen to everyone. So sometimes I think it's important for it to be a group event for whatever reason, but I don't think anything is really random. I feel like it's something that is happening because it's such a prolific thing that happens mentally for anyone that there's a ripple effect. So I just don't feel like something like that would be done randomly. I don't know. Ron, James, what do you think? Oh, you're muted.
I think we're just now beginning to understand what subjective and collective reality actually even means. And I'm not sure we have the vocabulary to properly describe it, much less apply it to experiences. I work a lot with Rizwan Virk, who is a simulation theory guy. And the way he would explain it is that, we're each rendering our version of reality within our own segment of consciousness, and we're tapping into this collective template that is the simulation that we're in. But in a very broad sense, there really is no collective reality the way we're thinking there is, because every one of us is living a subjective reality. We're all here in this collective environment, but the reality that each one of us is experiencing is completely unique to us. And the ability of this simulation, if you can buy into it, we're spiritual creatures having a human experience. The way we have a human experience is that we create physical environments out of conscious energy. Therefore, we are living in a simulation. There's no other way to describe what it is. But so if you can't get past that part, then the rest of the conversation is pointless. As we evolve our understanding of our reality and the free will and all these other questions that pop up, the ET phenomenon and the non-human intelligence phenomenon is a huge part of it. And so are we living in subjective or collective realities? I think every circumstance is malleable. And if we're all sharing the same experience, it still doesn't mean that we're living in the same reality. We're all seeing it out of a different pair of eyes. We're interpreting it through different filters. We're hearing it with different ears. So, there is a consensus reality like, the ocean's blue and grass is green. And when we walk into this pattern, we see things unfold for us in a pre-programmed manner. But we're all in subjective reality, our own. And once that happens, it's very easy for these things to occur and be very real for you and maybe not real for me.
I just want to ask Ron. So I had Nick Bostrom in my first documentary. He's the guy that created the reality hypothesis. Sure. He believes literally that these are aliens that created us and that we're living their simulation that they've created. So what have you found in your research? Does any of that resonate for you?
When you look at the universe and you do a thought experiment, it always turns out the same way, is that any advanced civilization is going to eventually create artificial intelligence, and whatever happens to the source civilization is up for grabs right now. We don't know. But it's very possible that artificial intelligence is a predominant life force within this simulation and that it originates in this simulation. I'm not sure that aliens created our simulation. I try to go back to the spiritual teachings that say that, we're all part of the collective consciousness that some can call God, some can call the universe, whatever you want to call it. And that we take our little piece of that consciousness and we commit to a flesh and blood life within this simulation. And when we're done, we return back to the consciousness to do whatever we're going to do next, if there was actual time. So aliens, having us plugged into a matrix or creating this for us, I like to think that it's bigger than that we really are coming from source and just coming here to have the experience, and that we're not necessarily created by aliens, but it's quite possible. And what are aliens? They're just another spiritual being having an experience in whatever bodies they're in. So if everything comes from conscious energy, then it doesn't just mean humans. It means whales and dolphins and ants and Palladians and some other species are all coming from the same source, except for those that are arising through artificial intelligence. These are beings, I believe, that are created within the simulation, and they are bound inside the simulation, and they may not be able to get out because they didn't come from the same place. And it opens up a whole lot of very, very interesting questions.
I've brought up Captain Ron and Steve Bassett. What are your thoughts on the kind of spirituality conversation that we're having right now? Ron?
Well, it's interesting. I like the way Rizwan frames it, that we are all rendering our own version of reality. I think you can get your head around that very easily because we're all having our own individual human experience. And I feel like the way he describes it in that manner, that last thing Ron was saying about is way above my pay grade. Like, it's hard to think of artificial intelligence being trapped within that reality, but yet we're able to escape beyond it. Man, I don't know. This stuff is so speculative at that point. I mean,
it's true. It's hard.
I didn't know cannabis was required for this meeting. I thought we were just going to talk here.
I don't think Ron was saying that at all. I think Ron was saying that he was concerned that his simulated reality TV show that he's in doesn't have as high Nielsen ratings as maybe Bassett or someone else. Right? Did I read that right? Ron?
Yeah, that's true, because we all come here as spiritual beings to get good ratings. It's the meaning of life. Once we hit a certain threshold, we're done and we can go home. I'm sure that's how it works. I just don't say it very
We just
often.
want to have 3 seasons, 3 good seasons. because then we
Yeah,
can resist.
exactly right. Or two good movies. You know, that's all it
Yeah.
takes.
All right. Well, since we're having fun right now, which I love, what are your thoughts on this? Who would have imagined the president of the United States he posted this on Truth Social, one of the great funny combinations of words given what goes up there. What's your take
That's why
on
they're building all these new detention camps. I mean, the alien is in shackles. He's taking them off. ICE has obviously arrested him. You know, they're going to start with the Hispanics, and they're going to go to the grays as soon as they run out of gardeners and landscapers.
Yeah, illegal aliens. Here it is right here. But my question is, who was photoshopped in? Was Trump photoshopped in this picture, or was the alien?
Exactly. I do find the messaging here very curious. He just came out. He's going to be the guy of transparency. He's going to get to the bottom of this. We're going to release these files. And it seems like he's taking this in a very serious light. And then immediately to follow that up with something like this and having the alien in chains it's just very bizarre messaging for me.
He doesn't understand the scope of this phenomena. So he's kind of, that's my feeling.
But look at the timing of this. Right after the files drop, now he's going to put out this kind of stuff.
That image is exactly the reason the aliens aren't talking
to him
us.
on a unicorn flying with a flag, he's going to post it. I don't think that they generated it in-house. I can't imagine there's someone doing these prompts. I think it just came to him and he reposted it. I hope.
We can all agree he's not much of a logical thinker. So I mean,
I do think we need to think about this differently, out of the materialistic paradigm and into a broader perspective that our consciousness is infinite and we're part of a cosmos and we're not living in a dead universe. Life is an abundant, emergent property of creation, and we're starting to meet the others and raise our thinking up. I say in my lectures, the higher being is going to talk to us on the language of their frequency. Like, you're not going to bark at your dog if you want to talk to him. You're going to talk for us in the language of telepathy, the language of this higher consciousness. That's why I think, Ron, like what you're doing, the telepathy tapes are so important in conjunction with the UFO phenomena. Ron Janix is really highlighting that this year too. So,
I think there's clearly a tie there, because almost all of the contactee experiences you've heard, there's always a telepathic communication. Even if you go back to the fairy stories of 1,000 years ago in Ireland, they said that they talk to me without their mouth. They talk to me in my head. And it's very interesting that telepathy is a much wider reach than I think any of us realize.
yeah. And it's the language of the universe. I think that's how species talk to each other, it seemed like. And we have to learn that language. We have to understand that we can do that. That's why I love teaching remote viewing, because people get that they're infinite, that forever. And that's just a sideline to what the phenomena is trying to tell us, in my opinion.
So again, we all know that it's all ultimately a great mystery. And as we ask these questions, it's fascinating to get your feedback, because all of you have been in this field for a long time. Several of our people have asked, do any of you have thoughts about what's going on with the missing general, which is the most interesting of the missing cases, but there are, of course, others that have disappeared or died under strange circumstances. Do any of you have any thoughts about what that's all about? Is it connected?
I did a coast to coast episode on it about a week and a half ago. And
all right, we'll hear from Dean and then from Ron.
Oh, sorry, Ron. Did I interrupt?
No, go ahead.
And so did Captain Ron. And so we were kind of comparing notes. And the fact is that there's 70,000 of these scientists. And so the odds of it, being 10, 12, 13 of them over, a matter of years is not so statistically fantastical. When I looked at it, I decided to go back from 2026 to 2016. And the most interesting case I found was a woman, American Chinese woman, who was working on an anti-gravity system that the government had hired her company to work on. Now, what happened is when she was around, like late 60s, she got hit by a car. Well, that didn't finish her off. It did her husband, because he had a heart attack a year later after seeing this. The shock was, but she started to get Alzheimer's and had issues with it, but it wasn't like this clean thing, if you will, as what we're, purporting to say, that, these were hits that were being done. So it doesn't add up. And a lot of these people, one of them was in a Boston University shooting that was going on. It would be too random. One was someone who was being robbed and was helping a neighbor. So the circumstances haven't led to this, not to say that has not happened in the past, that not just black ops, but corporations. There's records of that. I mean, you just look at the Karen Silkwood case that Danny Sheehan presided over. He, they were found guilty. The company was. And so it does happen, but so far I'm not seeing direct correlation between all of that. Maybe Ron James has something else, or Captain Ron, but yeah.
Well, whatever. I right when Dean did that on Coast, I had just done a podcast. I had written a podcast, and then I did it that Friday about this. And I looked at a lot of these people. There were like 13 or 14 names. And the first 1, 2, maybe 3 were interesting, and they did seem to have a tie to the UFO community. But as you got deeper down that list, they didn't really seem to have anything that sensitive anyway. They didn't have classified access. They didn't have clearances. I thought it was kind of really a reach. However, I also, like Dean mentioned, I pointed out that the reason people jump to this is justified. Going back to Roswell, there are many Roswell witnesses who have come forward and said they were flat out threatened. So starting in 1947, that happened. We have a history of it going through all the way up to the last hearing we had in November. Dylan Borland said that, my life was not threatened, but I lost my clearances, my job, I could not find work, and they basically can threaten you in smaller ways. So I understand why people want to make this leap, because this community has been riddled with this. For 80 years, there are people that have allegations of being threatened, being intimidated. So that's justified. I just don't feel, looking closer at these individual cases, outside 1 or 2 of them, that there's really much there, in my view.
All right. And Ron James, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Ron. I've looked at these cases too. There are some that seem very, very possibly connected. And if there were connections, the connections are going to be, how much of a threat are these people to the new narrative that they're rolling out? How much can they refute that narrative if they were to come forward? How many of them were exploring possible whistleblowing? We know that General McCaslin was the guy that was talking to Tom DeLonge, and he had a whole Twitter feed that was divulging information under a pseudonym. And we know that there's a couple other people that were involved in technology to develop sensors that could pick up certain frequencies. And these frequencies are associated with anti-gravitics. So there are some very interesting connections between some of these people. But yeah, the broad spectrum of all these people being connected to something nefarious is, I worked with Ross Coulthard. I sent him some information. He came out and said there's no connection. I think there's some connection, but I don't think it's as big as the grandest of conspiracies.
Right. Matthew James Sullivan, he gets overlooked because it's all about the general, higher ranking, but he was a former U.S. Air Force intelligence officer who died in 2024, and it was an apparent suicide. According to Representative Eric Burleson, he had been scheduled to testify in a UFO whistleblowing case.
Right.
And so he was kind of the closest direct person that you would profile as going, okay, this looks a little, suspect.
Right.
I used to think that, the day of threatening to kill people and people dying over this secrecy were kind of over. Like Ron brought up, they threatened people in Roswell. They said that's a big desert out there. But I was of the mind that that there were different rules and they weren't killing people anymore. And it is possible that if you cross certain lines, you're still going to end up on that side of it. And it definitely makes filmmakers like me, I'm sure Dean, everybody else. There's a lot of us that are pausing when that story first came out, but I'm not that concerned now.
Yeah.
I can add something here.
Yeah.
There's good and bad. My thinking was always this: in the very early days, 47 into the 50s, when this thing was coming together, the government was establishing its positions and started to understand the potential national security implications. I can imagine some people not wanting to go along with that, and you might have had some wet work back then. But then the government pretty much got it under control. All right, they had a pretty good ride after in 60 going forward. But then I felt also that when the truth embargo was reaching its end, that's when they might begin again, because there will be a number of people in there that do not want to have to face this. They feel it's going to be very harmful to them. They also may feel they have the super national security position and now it's about to break. That's really intolerable, and they might strike out against somebody. So there could be a little at the end and the beginning. McCaslin is important. That's an absolute legitimate case. It's huge. And because it's huge, it attracted people to the idea, and that created the group of 13. And the internet could make that 20 if it wanted to. That's the downside, because most of those people have nothing to do with wet work, but their families are being taken through this regardless, and they're not happy about it. So it concerns me, but that's the nature of our times. You've got McCaslin, for sure. They have got to get to the bottom of that, and we may find out it's wet work. Secondly, Sullivan, absolutely. And there's one other individual who also died either by suicide. I just recently read about it. I think a member of Congress is going to bring it out after being approached to testify. So these are the ones that are important. And my concern is the internet just never settles for a snack. It's got to have a banquet. And to the extent other people are dragged into this, it takes the focus away from the really important incidents. It could be wet work, and there's only 3 as far as I'm concerned. And so we'll see what happens there. But I'm sure that one day we're going to learn that they did some of this, and we're going to have to decide what to do. I'm a truth and reconciliation guy because we need the information more than we need justice in that regard. We'll see. But that's my take on this, and I look forward, particularly regarding McCaslin.
I just want to say one thing from a senator. I heard a Contact in the Desert about 10 years ago. The senator from Alaska was there and people were asking about UFOs. And he said, I never forgot that there's not as many conspiracies as you think, but there's more than you know, was his quote.
Well done.
Yeah.
Can one of you describe to our viewers, they don't know what wet works are. Somebody just define that, please.
Wet work is a term used when it's necessary to kill somebody with respect to intelligence operations. It's not just killing any for any reason. It has to be part of an intelligence situation. And it's called wet work because blood is involved, oftentimes. And so that's why it's called wet work. It goes back a long ways, and it happens in other areas, right? You want to get into nuclear science or nuclear weapons work and so forth, you step out of line there, you're gone. And there's been
how many
more
times
there.
did the U.S. with Israel take out Iranian scientists?
Oh yeah.
I mean,
virtually
that went on.
Yeah.
That went on for a long time, brazenly so. But the thing is, there's a lot of people who are, for lack of a better word, UFO gurus who talk about being threatened. And after working on so many crime shows and stuff, and some agency shows as well, that's not how they threaten. They don't go up to you and say, if you do this, we're going to take you out. They don't do that. They come up and they'll let you know that they're unhappy with that. And maybe you get one warning. And then they come to you and they'll say, hey, I saw that Cynthia, congratulations. She won that merit award in the 4th grade thing. And didn't you change out her lunchbox? Because it's no longer, the lunchbox at Star Wars. It's now Barbie. That's enough. They go for your family, because if you're so brazen and you're robust and you're, machismo, and you're saying, you can't touch me, this and that, then fine. They go to family, they go to loved ones. That's how that stuff gets done. But the big point that I have, what could McCaslin say? What could any of these guys say that would be so shocking that hasn't already been said at the hearings? Would they say, I actually know where something is? Well, then it can get moved. So what I'm curious,
That's
and I'm,
the big
I guess, opening this
question.
up to everyone. What would it be? That would be
I can
so
answer that.
critical.
Well, they would
to-
name
He sits on
names,
top
Dean.
of
I
all
would
the
think.
compartments,
But they've been
so-
naming names, though. They've been already naming names.
Yeah, but maybe names that people don't want them to name.
Right. Ron
Right,
James
but then
says
they
he
would
had
say,
something to
"Oh,
say.
I had
Let's-
nothing to do with this." They could just deny it because that's what they do, and then they can say, "Also, by the way, this person who's accusing me, he had a DUI way back when, like they did with Crush." So,
Yeah, Ron.
Yeah, look, there's very few people that sit at the top of the information. Probably single digit people that have the bird's eye view of everything. McCaslin was quite possibly one of them, and he was already on the verge of, he was already talking to Tom DeLonge. He was already putting out information. He certainly could be perceived as a threat. But the other thing is, and I hate to bring this up, but there's other distinct possibility here. When you're a guy at that level dedicated to this government and this system, and you're in the intelligence community, you are duty bound for life to do whatever you're told to do. And it's great. This guy left his phone and his wallet, but took his gun. It's like, what's up with that? So the fact of the matter is that he was mentally slipping. I've heard people say that that's not true, but my research indicates that it is. His wife is extremely nonchalant about the whole thing. She was making jokes about him being abducted by aliens when she was posting on social media and calling the police, and very clear he doesn't want to be found. She has been so lackadaisical about what should be the most traumatic experience of her adult life that it points to something that is just very, very strange. But this guy, he knew where the bodies are buried. If we could get into Wright-Patterson with a pass key, that would be disclosure day.
There you go.
Right.
When the McCaslin case came out, most people did not know about the Tom DeLonge situation. They'd forgotten about it. It came out in the WikiLeaks emails dumped right before the election, deliberately by Assange in order to defeat Clinton. And it caught me by surprise. Now, all of those UFO referencing emails are still there. You go to WikiLeaks, WikiLeaks Clinton or whatever, and you page comes up, and you can put your search terms in UFO McCaslin, and up they come. I think even the photo is there. So what happens is he was kind of part of the Clinton's going to win the election and she's going to disclose, and he was participating in it, and it was not intended to be public. So he was doing it behind the scenes. Now, certain people in the government, offended by that, and he was helping the Dems, not the Republicans. All right. And so, but they didn't act. They didn't act on that. But so that was 2016. So like years and years go by, this issue gets closer and closer and closer. There's some resentment there. There's no way that I can't imagine that he doesn't want to be found. He is either dead, and if he simply went out and killed himself, they would find the body. They have it. It's very difficult to completely disappear. Or he's been taken, right? And he is sequestered. And at some future time, maybe after disclosure, he'll reemerge. But they didn't want him to become part of this process. And by the way, all of the hearings, and most everything that comes from these witnesses, there's constant effort to point out that it's gone through Dobser, or this is what I can say, but this is what I can't say. And if I can't say it, let's talk in a skiff. They're all pretty much trying to keep it right. McCaslin may have had intentions not to do that. We have not had somebody sit down in front of that committee under oath and say, look, I don't care about my clearances. I don't care about that. I'm going to tell you everything. Places, names. What if Grush, when asked, do you know where those crashed vehicles are located, start giving out the destinations? That's the kind of thing that could get you a visit. But he does. But he didn't do that. He still got threatened. As for me, I've been at this 30 years. I've been calling for disclosure. I've only been threatened one time, and that was by a person who was.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that.
Dean Aliato.
Yeah, dude, you drank my beer. I'm going to throw down. Sorry, that's on you.
Oddly enough, after getting a bunch of threatening calls wanting to kill me, I happened to be recording them, and this has nothing to do with the issue. This was something else. I sent the copy of the calls to the local FBI. Nice guy. He said, "You have any evidence?" I says, "Well, I got the records of all of them." I sent it to him. A month later, they called me back and he said, "Mr. Bassett, everything is going to be fine. It's okay." That's the way the government's supposed to work. It does work. It does things. That's why I avoid demonizing the whole damn thing. And I'm also
you can't.
concerned that the idea of really making this a big story and this, and they're murdering and this and that and women, this is not helping us with the people that are still inside, that are in the middle, that we're going to be dealing with post-disclosure.
Yeah, can you imagine if
yeah, go ahead.
you're going to be a whistleblower and then you hear all these people getting killed? That's a buzzkill. And, let's remember that all these guys that we're calling whistleblowers, if you have to get the statements you're going to make cleared by the Department of Defense, you are not a whistleblower. You are an instrument of the narrative. And
all this whistleblower drives me crazy.
Lou and Chris and all these people
Very
that are
good
still
point.
working. They really are.
But I think Dean makes a good point. What is the big secret why are these people getting killed? Maybe it's bigger than we can imagine, Dean. I mean, what would be the reason? What have we yet to hear? And maybe it's all about money. I don't know.
I'm a science fiction writer by trade. That's what I do. I do sci-fi films as well. And I try to come up with the idea of what this would be. And I think everything that's been brought up with, dead bodies, and there's a great story that Jackie Gleason told about Nixon taking him out to take a look at some artifacts of bodies and Roswell material. I don't really see how there is something that is so damning to them. I mean, in Dan Farah's thing, he talks about the legacy program. That's pretty huge to be saying, no, there is a legacy program and here it is. And people are talking about this. I can't really imagine what it would be that would be so damning. And so, and also I just want to make a little note here. I don't hold the presidents as being the ones who are championing any of this. The people who are doing this are the states, or the congresspersons and the senators. These are the guys who are storming the castle, and they're working their butts off, whether they're on Democrats or Republican. And so they're dogged. And Bouchette just came out and said there is going to be some disinformation in this next round of tranche that's going to be released, and things that have already been debunked. So there's already stuff going on, but for him to get into that and set us up for that and lay that out, hats off to him for doing that and prepping us so that gets avoided, because manipulation is going on left and right. Sorry, I didn't answer your question. I don't know what that would be, what smoking gun, because you can't just say it. It's hearsay. You have to present evidence and show and go, here it is. Here's, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
We're gonna actually going to bring up one of our people. I am Sophia, representing another generation, and she's got a thought and a question. Take it away, Sophia.
Yes, hello. It's such an honor to witness all of you on this Zoom. I am a contactee and I make music about my experiences because my mission is to bring the younger generations, into our corner, because they affiliate and resonate with being star family and star children and aliens themselves. And so I interact with hundreds of teenagers a day because of my music. And what I've gathered from all of these young minds is that they absolutely believe in aliens and extraterrestrial intelligences and disclosure. They're just afraid because Hollywood or our programming has kind of stationed us to believe the predator stereotype or the War of the World stereotype. And so my question or curiosity for all of you is, when disclosure, proper disclosure happens and it is announced on a grand scale, how do you think things are going to go with making sure the narrative about extraterrestrials is not evil and War of the Worlds and Predator? Because I do see that could be a card that they pull as a control tactic. And so I'm just curious, because what I find with the younger generations is that they absolutely believe in aliens. It's just a matter of being fearful that they're going to come destroy our world.
Good question. Remember when I said earlier that once we get formal disclosure, it's the contactees that they're liberated.
Mm-hmm.
And so the number of contactees is pretty large.
Mhm.
I know it's in the hundreds of thousands. It could be in the millions.
Mhm.
We have hundreds of thousands of reports are in the files, closets of certain individuals like Strieber and others. They talked about this.
Mhm.
But almost all of these were sent to them privately, meaning I can't talk to my family. I can't talk out in public, the work, but I want you to know this has happened to me.
Yeah.
So in order to get those out and into play, it's going to be tricky. They got to be maybe vetted, whatever, but they are there, that vast amount. And then, of course, there's plenty of contactees that are quite alive.
Mhm.
And so they are going to let us know pretty quickly. And they will testify. They'll get to testify in Congress how dangerous they are.
Mm.
Firsthand experiences. This is what happened. All right. And we will be able to get a sense, I think, of how bad it is. So I'm not too worried about it in that sense. You know, we've had a movement now for 80 years. You're part of it. Everybody in the show is part of it. We've moved the needle, made the books and the documentaries, huge amount of research. And the only reason that research isn't a powerful influence on people's thinking right now is because the government basically said it's nonsense, it's not true. They spent a fortune to undermine it, stigmatize it. But once we get disclosure, that stigma is completely gone. All of that research is going to be accessed. And I know enough about that research to know it does not add up to evil, demonic, awful, terrible ETs. They're going to make your life more awful than humans are doing already. And then never forget the most significant thing we know about extraterrestrials, period. They have on numerous occasions turned off our ICBM missiles.
Right.
Here
right.
and in the Soviet Union, right? And that it started in our country on just about 5 years after the Cuban Missile Crisis. There is a very strong thread there that eventually is going to come out. And if turning off our nuclear missiles confirms they're evil, well, nothing I can do about that. But I think it gives us another message.
Well, one more thing I just want to add to what Steve said, that we're missing that the phenomena itself has a huge role in it. It's sort of in their ball court. And so what some people say, they are appearing and disappearing, you know, they're getting us used to it. So they have a strategy, I think, whoever they are, that we need to realize, including the nuclear weapon stuff, that maybe they're showing their hand slowly. And it's not just government in control. Actually, the government is coming forward, some people say, because they got the message from the beings like you tell them or we tell them. So it's a much bigger picture. There's the offense, the defense, and the innocent bystander. No
We
one's
get
in
messages
it.
to
I would like to say, if I could, just Sophia, I would love to hear your music. I'm sure it's beautiful. And this is our chance. This is our time. This is like the civil rights volunteers that went out. You don't stay in, we're all inside now. You go outside and you interact and you see the beauty and the incredible love that the universe sends us. It changes everything. And it's very simple. And that's what I would say is get out there and do your part. And don't wait for somebody else. Don't wait for disclosure. Go out today. Introduce yourself. I do that all the time. And say who you are, what's important to you, what you have to offer to the universe is of great value. And you have to recognize that. And once we do that, we will move into this next step and we will have a beautiful, wonderful existence on this planet and beyond.
I just want to add, there's all the evidence is supporting, and everyone's going to agree on this, I believe. They're not here to do damage. They're not. If they wanted to take over the planet, and Stephen Hawking said we never should have sent out Voyager because higher forms of intelligence always takes over and colonializes other countries. Well, the fact is we have oxygen and we have an atmosphere, and that can be seen from, millions of miles with the advanced technology they have that they're bringing when they come with their craft. They could have taken over any time. They could send little drones the size of a flea that they could say, you know what? we want to keep the animals. We don't care for these humans. So we're going to have them dissolve. We like their clothes. It's kind of a nice fashion right now. It's retro. Let's do that. Let's keep them. So they're just disappear. That would have happened. But the thing that I kind of want to warn is that the idea of this panacea of disclosure, where they come and they give us technology and everything, I got to say, as a parent, I don't want that. I don't want them coming and cleaning up our room, because then we're going to be reliant on them to do it, because we're going to keep messing it up. We have to be allowed to grow. Right now, we're not even a type 1 species. We're in kindergarten. So our evolution, that needs to happen. You can't rob a child of growing and learning, skinning their knees and everything. The thing that I'm more concerned about is AI, AGI and super AI. We saw, Captain Ron and I saw this wonderful documentary called The AI Doc. If you haven't seen it, it's on Amazon. Please see it. It's a primer for what's coming. That to me is terrifying. If these creatures are going to come, these beings, these celestial bodies, brothers, this is the only threat that I think that is more powerful and dangerous easily than nuclear weapons. And so what John Martin was saying, go out, experience life, be analog. That is when we start connecting with the universe and the source and the planet. That is evolution. That's going to get us to a higher vibration. It isn't going to be this.
Yeah, totally.
Okay,
Go ahead.
Go ahead, dear.
I was just going to say, because I loved the AI doc, but to that point, with how quickly AI is advancing, like, I guess the trepidation, I know that these beings are benevolent, or a lot of them are, and my experiences have been benevolent. The concern I have for the younger generations is that in mainstream media and mainstream programming, especially with the ability with AI now, it's for the most part being painted as negative, right? It's not being painted as these benevolent, positive, angelic beings. So I'm just concerned about how the media is going to maybe stronghold the topic.
Well,
they can't overcome the experiencers and the increases in contact. That this generation that you're talking about is at the peak of interaction with these beings on an individual level, and that's only magnifying. So that is going to defeat this agenda to portray this phenomenon as dark.
But the media has also recently changed. They used to laugh at this. They're not laughing anymore. They're taking it. So the media is in flux in relationship to the consciousness of the people. So that should change.
And what I would say is, when you see a craft that is completely unexplainable, I'm just a guitarist, and this was over my home. A purple, beautiful, it was like the Glocka Model 6000, because it was purple with a pink ring that was spinning, completely silent over my home. It sent out this beautiful energy. And when you see that, I'm not sure how many people here have seen craft, but when you start seeing the actual craft, and you have beings that come through portals, when you see that, it shifts your reality. And it's an incredible experience. It's a beautiful experience. And I look forward to so many more people do that.
Again, I hate to that's a very great sentiment, and I hate to stand on it, but I got to respond to Dean. I want to suggest, Dean, a different metaphor. You come across a middle school with 2,000 7th graders. Every one of us carrying a automatic weapon, got some grenades strapped to their belts. Okay, and you look at that, you go, I think I'll give them time to kind of work things out. They grow up, they'll decide maybe get rid of those weapons. It's too late. You deal with that. You disarm them, or there will be a slaughter. That is the planet Earth right now. We're past the idea of growing out of our problems. We've dug a hole so deep, we can't find a ladder big enough to get out of it. We're on the edge of nuclear war every single day. Now, having a nuclear war, losing maybe a massive part of our population, which is projected in the Iron Dog prophecy that has been told many times around the world, 2030 to 2031, a third of the population is going to be destroyed. If that happens, and it does, well, that is a learning experience. And there'll still be people, and they'll have to struggle, and they may rebuild, and maybe the next time around, as they come back again, they'll say, let's don't do that. Maybe it'll take 500 years. I have a feeling the ETs don't like that kind of waste. That is why.
Respectfully, yes. Sorry, go ahead. Finish your point. Then
that is why you take Rua School. Rua is not the only school that they have landed by and given messages of potential destruction. There have been quite a few. Most people only know about Rua and Westville. Rua, though, has been incredibly, has very much been researched. And it traumatized some of them. There's no question. It was tough. Some of them did not fare well because of that. But on the other hand, that message did get out. It was researched by, in this case, Dr. Mack. Somebody else would have done it, and then became a documentary, and it's out there. And what is out there? The message that they gave to the kids. Why are they bothering to do that? In a sense that, yeah, we want you to grow up, and we're suggesting you do that, but the evidence is to the contrary, right? They've been here now for 80 solid years since Roswell. They started this new modern era of engagement because we dropped 2 nuclear bombs on human beings, men, women, children, vaporized them. Up until then, we'd never done that. We tested them, right? And then the U.S. did it. In the last 80 years, the United States has dropped 10 million tons of bombs, more than all of the other nations combined. I think China has dropped like 2,000, not tons, but 2,000 pounds, well, 2,000 tons. I mean, it's not even close. 10 million tons of, and we're the good nation, right? We're the good people. So we don't have time to grow up, Dean. I'm sorry. We need that intervention desperately. And for whatever reason, they could make that intervention at any time they want. They could really come in, but for what their agenda seems to be, give us a chance to, as you say, grow up. But what constitutes that? It constitutes full awareness of their presence and dealing with that, and then open contact, perhaps. But we are in a situation where we cannot get out of this on our own. Hell, we can't accomplish anything. We can't even clean up the oceans. Right? We can't even deal with landfill problems. And we can't deal with population. There are people who would love to see 20 billion people on this planet, which is exactly the same size when the dinosaurs roamed. And so we desperately need extraterrestrials. And I know that sounds messianic, okay? And I understand what messianism is. It's been around a long time. But boy, this is we're not talking about a single savior coming and finally turning up and baptizing them in the river. We're talking about the presence of apparently a huge number of these entities with their presence constantly engaging us in a number of ways. So this isn't really messianic. This is more basic. One advanced civilization addressing a problem of another advanced civilization in deep trouble, trying to produce, hopefully, a superior outcome.
Ron James,
I disagree 100%.
Dean, let's hear from Ron.
Just hold on. Let me just answer this because he was answering my question. So I just need to put a cap on this. Where were the aliens when the plagues hit and nearly wiped out mankind? Where were the aliens when we came and we were giving tuberculosis blankets to the Native Americans and wiping them out? 70 million Native Americans were wiped out. Where were they then? And we have records of these beings being here all through mankind. Mm-hmm. It is still our job, even if we wipe out ourselves down to 10%, it is still our job to do that. And by the way, we are not doing any population explosion. We are now reducing it. And if you talk to Dr. Michael P. Masters, he tells you we are on the decline. In fact, longevity is now on the decline. People are more sterile. We have the opposite problem. So I don't think that there's going to be an alien savior like a white savior that's going to come in. And again, I don't want them to do that because then there was an artificial component coming in here that's intervening. That means that we can't handle it. And if we can't handle that, maybe we should not be here. This is a test, man. This is an evolutionary test. And there's been other civilizations here beforehand, it looks like. So if this is us at our best, having someone come in and then have to do safeguards, we don't want control from the government, let alone an alien species coming in. So for me, I look at the past and I see that we've been closing to decimating ourselves beforehand, and we have survived. So that's my counter.
Well, we got two perfectly opposite opinions here. Very good. Yeah. Get some entity to book a theater somewhere. Let you and I get up there and have a civilized discussion. I think it'd be
we'll book an Awakening World show where you guys go at it. I want to strike the middle road. You know, as the Buddha said, always take the middle road. And what if you're both right? What if it's not black and white? It's not they're just going to let us destroy ourselves. The very fact, I think we all know, we've read the book probably, there has absolutely been extraterrestrial intervention stopping nuclear explosions. I think we all know that.
I'm not one of those. I think they've been here in ancient times, but stopping nuclear explosions, I'm not on that on that ship.
I do think we have to clean up our own mess, and you know, if they help us, great. But we've made a mess, and I think we can clean it up. We can do that, Steve. If we all put our
Not a chance in hell. I'm sorry, man. Not a chance in hell. I mean, if I saw evidence of that, if I really saw a significant effort to try to, and because this is a global phenomenon, we got 200 countries, we got 8.3 billion people. By the way, the population increase is coming down. We're not reducing population. But in any event, it's like I would say so, right? I would, but all the numbers point towards cataclysm, right? And again, if we have a nuclear war, we will still be able to rebuild. It'll just take a long, long time to get back to where we were. There'll be massive slaughter and pain. Now, if we were in the same position of the extraterrestrials, I mean, good humans, like us, we're good people. We have good intentions. There are a lot of people in government like that, and we encountered a civilization kind of like we are and knew where they were going. Would we say, it'd be a damn shame if you killed like 4 billion people, but you gotta figure this out on your own? We'd intervene. We would intervene.
Look, I think we haven't done that so far. We haven't.
Ron James is
only conquered.
I think that there's multiple races at play in this loosely formed galactic federation, and these are not civilizations that get along with each other or have the same philosophy. They have an alliance that is very delicate, based on the realization that they could all wipe each other out at any moment. So we better keep a tenuous peace. When it comes to Earth, there are those beings that would like to see us gloriously welcomed into the Galactic Federation and become a spacefaring race. And there are others that would prefer that we be plowed under so they can do something else with the planet. And as Whitley Strieber says in my new movie, they are either going to be midwives or undertakers. And we have earned the right to self-determine by some kind of virtue of our species, no matter what our origin was. It is truly up to us to create our own fate. And that is what we're seeing unfold. And we need to do a better job, or it's just not going to be a good outcome. And the universe and even this planet is rife with stories and histories of failed civilizations. And they're finding that out more and more.
I have to
So
say
at the end of the day, it's up to us. It's up to every single person to walk the walk and make the world they want to make. And if we can't do that on an individual level, then we can't shift it on a collective level. And right now, I'm afraid that things are just moving in the wrong direction. But, we have Sophia's people that she's talking about. These kids are not like us. They are not as warlike as we are. They understand. They're watching what their parents have done, and they're just scratching their heads. They're telepathic. They're able to communicate with each other in ways we don't even fathom. If this new generation, if we can hold on long enough to let the next generation of humans come in, we stand a real chance of flipping the script. But if it's going to be business as usual and we're headed down this trajectory, I don't even know if we're going to get far enough to hand over the reins.
We don't deserve Mother Earth then. That's as far as. Yeah.
Oh, that's almost a God pronouncement, right? Look, in ancient gods, they were big on that. It's like,
let me change my name on my ID to God. Hold on.
I do think that coming to Contact in the Desert, we can continue discussion and get input from a whole community that, it's not black or white. There's so much subtleties here, and the phenomena does know what it's doing. And maybe it doesn't care if we wipe ourselves out, or maybe it does, but let's open this conversation beyond our little small community to the world and get a consensus, because we have to realize we're one planet, one species.
And there are infinite realms. And so I'm going to kind of wind us down, because this is a great conversation, and I'd love to invite some of you, and we're going to continue this conversation at Contact in the Desert. So
Yeah.
I want to remind everybody, and we are going to do our Awakening World show from Contact in the Desert on Saturday night, May 30th. But everybody come to Contact in the Desert. And Captain Ron has generously given us a discount code. So when you go to buy your tickets, everybody write this down. The discount code is Captain 10. Captain 10 to get your tickets. And now's the time to do it. Get the tickets. It's going to be an amazing event. All the people you've seen here are going to be there. And we will carry on these extraordinary and most interesting conversations at Contact in the Desert.
Sophia, where's your music?
In this galaxy and many others. Anywhere. You can find it anywhere. I am Sophia everywhere, and I make like cosmic pop, so it's all about aliens, but it's for the younger generations. It's dance music, it's radio music, it makes you want to get up and move.
There we are. Okay.
Right.
Right on.
She was actually going to play tonight, but she had a physical ailment come up that stopped her. But she was originally in the agenda to sing tonight, so we're going to bring her back.
I'm rehabbing a dislocated jaw at the moment, but I will be playing some music soon on this show. And go check it out. I think you all would like it.
Thank you.
I am Sophia on Spotify and all the favorite places.
I found it.
Good name.
All right. Hey, I want to thank you guys. Thank you, Alan Steinfeld. It's been a great making contact. We'll do another one from Contact in the Desert. Steve Bassett, I always appreciate what you do. Everybody, please donate to Steve. I'm going to put that into the chat box. Actually, if
hey, I just threw another $100 on that web page. So
I'll have to pay for that. I'll tell you that right now.
Thank you, Ron. I know that also Dean donated. I donated. So let's all donate to Steve and continue his work. Dean, it's a pleasure to meet you. And I definitely want to set up you and Steve Bassett to do the great debate. We'll let
somewhere in the
Ron...
middle. We're all in it together. We're all figure this out. So
let me make an important
again.
point.
That's just my opinion. It's just my opinion, folks.
The point I'd like you to take away is this: the discussion. I don't call it a debate, but the discussion that we just had is the discussion. That's the one that needs to be happening around the world. There is plenty to talk about. I get it. But that is the one. 30 years has told me that. I could be wrong. I feel good about it. And this is kind of a political thing. That's where I'm focused. I'm not research, right? I'm not trying to explain why the grays look gray or whatever the hell. I'm trying to analyze this from a political perspective and not be too anthropomorphic, because I believe that life is everywhere. And I believe that politics is just as inevitable as advanced technology. And so they seem to have a political kind of an agenda there. Well, I'd love to know more. But this is the discussion because, one nuke and we're not going to be able to have more of these shows.
All right. Well, that's a perfect segue because we always include prayer time. And so I'm going to bring up Diara and Desiree, and I'm sure they will probably include in their prayer time peace on our planet, no nukes. So here are beloved Desiree and Diara.
Absolutely. This is about the micro and the macro. We are the micro version here tonight of the macro discussion on how to share resources. If we look at the song, "This land is your land, this land is my land," how do we share this with all of our inhabitants here now, and then still have room for more coming, more to be recognized? This is about our innocence. This is about free will tempered with cognitive maturity. This is about resonance of the heart. This is about honoring spirits, our Holy Spirit, meaning that we are whole. This is about the relevance of our souls and understanding that each soul has their own perspective, their own mission, their own way, as we said, of viewing the world. And yet we have a shared conscious reality. And so we breathe in our capacity to continue to hold all of it Here in the Global Peace Tribe on the Awakening World, we are the examples that we are setting for the world, how to have these discussions, how to hold all of it. And as we pray for this deepening capacity for peace and love, honoring each other, the different perspectives, we also pray for the physical bodies that hold our souls and our spirits and what we're all going through at this point, this exciting, tremulous time. And we always pray for those who are in our circle and the outer circle. We pray for healing, healing of the hearts, healing of the minds, healing of the bodies. We pray for the children here now, the children coming, the children of all the galaxies, all the lands, known and unknown, inner and outer. And we pray for the parents doing their best to provide. We know that life loves life. We know that love loves love. And when there's the dissonance, cognitive heart dissonance around that, we have the capacity to once again go in deep and hold it all. And so it is.
Itakarakataka bokatisa, rakateta karakatita karakatita grobokarete kareta karabakatisa, rakateta karakateta karatakara. As we bring in those light codes to expand that heart. Itakarakatita karakatita 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 karakatita. The collectives have heard the words you've said tonight. Tukudukopokatita karakatita karakatita. There's expansion of the mind. Gaia herself is expanding. Her consciousness. As we bring in the light from the ages, the healing. I give to you a gift. The secrets are coming.
I want us to put our beloved Cornflower into our prayers. His mother had 2 more strokes, one on Mother's Day and one a couple days ago. So prayers, also prayers for Ayada. Her husband has been evacuated out. So putting Ayada and Cornflower into our hearts as we remember our beloved Global Peace Tribe family. Maximum grace for us all, maximum grace for the next generation that Sophia represents. And a big thanks to our guests. Going to bring them up one last time. Thank you, Steve Bassett. Thank you, John Martin. We're going to still have another John Martin video, by the way. Thank you, Dean. Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Captain Ron. Thank you, Sophia. You really added a lot. That was beautiful what you brought to us today. Of course, thank you, Alan Steinfeld, for all that you do and make these shows happen. There's Captain Ron. So a big thanks to our presenters and people who spoke tonight. And we're going to go to Omoshar for a closing song, and then we're going to watch a final video sent to us by our beloved John Martin. Here
And let's see everyone at Contact in the Desert too, for sure.
Absolutely. Let's all be there. It's going to be an amazing series of experiences.
Thank you,
all right,
Scott.
take it away, Omoshar.
walk this way again. Lay down all your guards. Your loving hearts will lead the way. The door is open. The wonderful and the new is waiting patiently. Take the step and you will see all you've been dreaming. 'Cause now is the time you've been waiting for so long. I've been holding you through all ages, knowing I'd be with you once again. You'll never be alone again. Please take my hand in yours. I love you just the way you are. You're my creation. The wonderful and the new is waiting patiently. Take the step and you will see all you've been dreaming. And now is the time we've been waiting for so long. I've been holding you through all ages, knowing I'd be with you once again. You'll never walk this way again. Lay down all your guards. Your loving hearts will lead the way. The door is open. And now is the time we've been waiting for so long. I've been holding you through all ages, knowing I'd be with you once again. You'll never walk this way again. Lay down all your guards. Your loving hearts will lead the way. The door is open.
As always, a perfect song. Absolutely perfect. Lots and lots of love to Omar Sharma. And thank you, everybody, for moving and grooving and dancing and adding your beautiful souls to the music. What an amazing evening. Thank you, Omar Shar. I love you so much. We didn't get a chance to hear from a lot of our audience tonight. I want to just acknowledge I was reading what was going on in the chat. So thank you, Connie and Dr. Laura and Carol and everybody who wrote. And I am going to read one thing that Dorina Joy wrote. She's coming to us from Ecuador. And Dorina Joy writes, I escaped from a communist comrade state, upgraded from a legal alien to a U.S. citizen, and now a permanent South American resident. And now I'm on my way to an interbeing and human galactic member, co-evolving with alien, AI, and NHI. And I think that really is a fascinating journey you're having in this human lifetime, Dorina. I agree with Ron James. We are spiritual beings having a human experience, and yours is an interesting one. And I think that that's the point. We all are learning how to coexist, co-evolve. And that's why we call it the awakening world. Want to let you know that coming up on Saturday night, we've got a really fun show. You know, every year I collaborate with the Illuminate Film Festival. And this year we are going to be announcing the winners of their micro short. I think they received about 150 short films. And all the winners of those short films are going to be announced on our show Saturday night. And we're going to meet the people who run it. My good friend Annette Wolpert, who's the executive director of Illuminate Film Festival. Of course, Overshare will be with us playing music. And there are some of the young people who made films that we will be honoring on Saturday night. So it's going to be a really fun show. Again, thank you to all of our amazing presenters. I definitely want to carry on the conversation at Contact in the Desert and beyond. And thank you to John Martin, who puts together these beautiful videos, which I do agree, this is the way for us to go out and talk to our friends, talk to the galactic family, call in those higher vibe beings. And so how wonderful to close out the show with this beautiful video from John Martin.
We've gone back to your previous thing. It was working. There we are.
Wow. I mean, that's the greatest thing you've ever seen. Wow, friends. Spectacular difference. Wow. I mean, that's the greatest thing you've ever seen. Wow, friends. Spectacular. That isn't there. That's amazing. That's wonderful. Thank you, friends. Wonderful. Thank you, my friends. That's just great. Thank you, lovely friends. Wow. Hey, lovely ones. Hey. Wow. Look how bright and beautiful. Hey, my friends. Hey, beautiful ones. Hey, my sweet, dear, beautiful friends. Hey. That was wonderful. Thank you, sweet friends. So good to see you tonight. Thank you, beautiful ones. Look at that. Perfect. Thank you, friends. Thank you, beautiful ones. Thank you, my dear friend. That was great. Thank you. It was, hey, sweet friends. Oh, how beautiful. Hey, my wonderful friends. Happy Peace Day, dear ones. Thank you. Thank you, my lovely friends. Thank you for coming to see me tonight. So wonderful. Thank you, sweet friends. Thank you, lovely ones. Thank you, beautiful. Whoa, what was that? Right there. I see you, friend. Wow. Beautiful. Hey, my friends. Fantastic. Gorgeous. There's a craft, for sure. Thank you, beautiful ones. My gracious, that's beautiful. Wow. Lovely. Thank you, beautiful ones. My goodness. That was fantastic. Come here, Bo. Closer. Hey. You do that. There's another one right there. There's a plane behind it. Hey, friend. Wow. Hey, beautiful one. It's just truly amazing. Hey, my dear friend. Wow, gorgeous. Hey, sweet friend. Beautiful. Hey, loveliest. Hey, my dear ones. How gorgeous. Absolutely beautiful, dear friends. Fantastic. Massively cool. Get out of here, the light's about to hit.
Been kind of patient to talk while this is really cool. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. Thank you guys.
That easy, absolutely. I mean, that's how you do it, Cinco. You project the best of yourself. whatever that is to the universe. And the universe is so ready and open and loving and excited when we make the effort to reach out and speak to them. You know, it's just a gorgeous interchange. And, you know, the experience is a two-way experience. You know, they send love to me, I send love to them, and we just have an absolutely glorious time. And it's so much fun, and I so highly recommend it.
It's beautiful. John, thank you. It's so beautiful. You remind me of the many nights I've spent with my daughter out speaking to the stars, and they respond straight away because they can feel the heart of the child, the cosmic child in each one of us. So a real great blessing to sit in your music and also feel the wonders of how the cosmos responds. I really feel that.
And I can feel your frequency, Altair, and you are aligned beautifully with the universe. And that's what happens is you're just naturally aligned with something that's so inspiring and so beautiful and so important and so loving and giving. And it's so amazing, really.
Thank you, John. Thank you, everybody who's still with us. Still 36 beloved souls, including Diara and Omashar. Thank you for always making these shows happen. And of course, Desiree. The core team. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful few days. Maybe go out and through the inspiration of John Martin, who's also still with us, go out and talk to our family, or even from your own bedroom, just tuning in. Remember, as we raise our vibration, we attract higher vibration. And I'm grateful to share these Wednesdays and Saturday nights with all of you. Take care, everybody. Good night. See you on